How y'all doing today? Did we do it? Are we here? Are we streaming? Boom, we're streaming. We did it. We're the best. We're the greatest. We're the greatest. As you guys can see, guitar strung. I literally got it strung an hour ago, so this is going to be out of tune. Not bad. Not bad. So throughout the day, if you're one of the new people, I play music on this thing all the time. My own music, other people's music. And so today, because I haven't had my guitar strung for, God, weeks now. So I'm out of practice. My guitar's out of practice. And Psychopath Nation, bud, right out the gate. You got it, bud. I know you've been asking for it, bud. Hey, Vince, how you doing? How you doing? You've been asking for it, bud. So I'm gonna deliver right away. I warn you, I am out of practice. I'm gonna try to go easy because I know how this stuff goes. I know that if I go too hard, I'm gonna hurt myself. This isn't the right book? Hey, I see it in the right book. 1 second, guys. Sorry, I'm super organized. I'm the most organized YouTuber. I'm super organized. I really, really know what's going on. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Okay. Psychopath Nation, bud. God. You know, when it doesn't take very long, and then all of a sudden I feel like I haven't played this song in, God, years, dude. Got any good songs? Boy, I got a ton of good songs. I got a ton of good songs. Like, I feel like I haven't played this music in forever. Burn yourself out for dollar bills. Kill your children for a few cheap thrills. You got a problem, well that's too bad. You're too tired to see you've been had and work or starve while we drop bombs. No such thing as right or wrong. We'll call you lazy while you work to death. You gotta earn yourself a moment of rest. And I won't work for a psychopath nation. No, I won't work for a psychopath nation. Burn those corpses so you can speed. Buy that garbage you don't need. We'll call you lazy while you lose your grip. Why won't they work in the apocalypse and retreat into your stupid lies? You act confused while your children cry. We'll promise change but act the same. Gaslight, deflect, and take no blame. Yeah, I won't work for a psychopath nation. No, I won't work for a psychopath nation. As we collapse into the devil's lap, and as we watch the world burn to ash, you'll whine like bitches on your way to the grave. Why won't those serfs just behave? And you fucking vampires, demons, and ghouls, we're done with being treated like fools. The curse is lifted, we're free from your spell. Keep on crying while you burn in hell, cause we won't work for a psychopath nation. Yeah, we won't work for a psychopath nation. Yeah, we won't work for a psychopath nation. Ooh. Glad to see Mr. Guitar back in circulation. Hey DM, how you doing? How you doing? Fantastic video today, by the way. Pierre versus Trudeau or Freeland would make quite the spectacle. I mean, thank you, Vince. I appreciate it. I'm feeling like, I'm glad it's coming across because I'm feeling rough. I feel rough. Like, I feel very, like, I know. Run for cover, Eric. Run for cover. You're all in fucking trouble now. Yeah, I got my weapon back. Right? It's like I'm an anime character, right? Like for the last couple of weeks, I've just been walking around just without I'm a gunslinger without a gun, and now I got my gun back. You're all fucked now. You're all fucked now. I don't even know what I want to play. I know what I want to play. This is what I want to play. Is this one of the ones I gotta flip over? God damn it. Ugh. I need to redo a lot of these songs and get them so that they're just like this, so I don't need to flip at all. Okay. This place is bubbling over. Your money you can keep. I'd rather while away my days dying in the streets than spend another moment sucking up to you. You can take this job, put it up your ass, and this is what you'll do. Get fucked. Get fucked. I didn't want this goddamn job anyway. Get fucked. Get fucked. You fucked around and found out, go away. Just go and get a job that doesn't pay the rent. Go get an education and drown in all your debt. The billionaires don't give a damn how hard they're screwing you. So let's all send a message and tell them what to do. Get fucked. Get fucked. I didn't want this goddamn job anyway. Get fucked. Get fucked. You fucked around and found out, go away. We're all in this together, so long as you do all the work. Slave away your better days to make money for some jerk. This deal ain't no kind of life, it makes me wanna scream. Let's round these motherfuckers up and get the guillotines. Get fucked. Get fucked. I didn't want this goddamn job anyway. Get fucked. Get fucked. You fucked around and found out, go away. Yeah, you fucked around and found out, go away. That's a fun one. Things were so peaceful when you didn't have your strings. I know, Ezial. I know. I'm a bit of a rabble-rouser. What can I say? What can I say? Uh-oh. YouTube censored. Yeah. As is to be expected. They're scared of us. That's all it is. They're scared of us. Oh, here's a good one. Here's a good one. I'm in the mood for all my upbeat stuff. So want to do all the upbeat stuff. I got a lot of downbeat stuff, but I want to introduce my new strings. Have you seen the Freedom Convoy mainstream media when I'll show you this? Nope. Not yet. We need more music. Shoot a rich man into space, gotta get ahead of the human race, and we're the lazy ones working at the end of your nukes and your guns, and we don't even care, bring on the doom, line up this apocalypse, we'll be going soon. God let his chosen ones wander forever in the burning sun, and 10 times worse the fate for us, so forget him, worship the dust, 'cause We don't even care, bring on the doom. Light up this apocalypse, we'll be going soon. Baptize us with rising tides, never let us see what hides inside, and cover our sins with dollar signs. The fire will burn away our pride, and we don't even care, bring on the doom. Light up this apocalypse, we'll be going soon. You could have done anything at all. You could have done anything at all. You could have done anything at all, and you chose this. We don't even care, bring on the doom. Light up this apocalypse, we'll be going soon. We don't even care, bring on the doom. Light up this apocalypse, we'll be going soon. We don't even care, bring on the doom. Light up this apocalypse, we'll be going soon. Yeah, we'll be going soon. Can't even imagine how I ended up breaking one of these strings, eh? Can't even imagine. All right, here's another good one. Yeah, here we go. I'm into the fucking protest music today. Oh, Mocked coming in. How you doing, Mocked? I hate this argument. The capitalism pays for everything. You get a share of value of your life, with the exception of the startup capital. Yeah, I mean, it's you should be respectful of your lord because he gives you grain, right? Like, you should be respectful of your master because he gives you a house. That's all that is. Like, and it can be dismissed with the same attitude. Just like, oh yeah, like your feudal king makes sure that you have food and shelter, so you should pay homage to your feudal king, right? It's the same argument. It's just capitalism. Capitalism is good, and you should worship your capitalist owners because you wouldn't have food and shelter without your capitalist owners. I'm a logical person. You critique capitalism and yet are ruled by capitalists. Curious. Like. Psychos sold a package of lies, spun their stories and promised the skies. Now they're robbing you in front of your eyes. They get off watching your children die, and the ghouls who claim to run this place, they don't know wrong from right. They're trying to kill the human race. I won't go down without a fight. Raise the banners, take up the cause. Suicidal nations don't have any laws. Lift up your head and take out your claws. Watch what happens when your apathy thaws, 'cause the ghouls who claim to run this place, they don't know wrong from right. They're trying to kill the human race. I won't go down without a fight. Fascists, break all their bones. Take everything away, don't leave them alone. Bury them beneath a mountain of stone. They're evil, we won't forgive or condone, 'cause the ghouls who claim to run this place, they don't know wrong from right. They're trying to kill the human race. I won't go down without a fight. Won't go down without a fight. I mean, the truckers are working on behalf of capital, so I don't know if I agree with solidarity with the truckers, honestly. Like, they're not really fighting for us, is what it comes down to. Like, I appreciate that they're surrounding the halls of power and they're pushing and all that kind of stuff, but their cry is, let's get back to Denny's. Like, that's what they're trying to do. They're not trying to, like, overthrow the system in order to, like, enact a workers' state or anything like that. They're not interested in that. They want to get back to Denny's. They want to put the workers back to work so that they can pull into Denny's. And that's the extent of that protest. I want solidarity with movements against all governments. Yeah, but, like, what's their goals? Like, what's their goals? What's the agenda? Right? Like, I'm not just gonna buy into your shit.
Another month inside this car. The wage they pay me doesn't get me very far. The chains that hold me break me down, but they don't scar. Can't even drink away my blues inside a bar. And this year sucks. This year sucks. Can you blame a man for trying to give it up? And this year sucks. Another day won't help that pain inside your back. The days get harder, but it's too hard to keep track. They keep you tied before your soul opens a crack. And God don't care what monkeys think about the facts. And this year sucks. This year sucks. Can you blame a man for trying to give it up? And this year sucks. So sit atop your pile of bones and bloody gold, and human sacrifice don't stop you being old. At least you'll die before the bomb you said explodes. We're gonna burn to death while doing what we're told. And this year sucks. This year sucks. Can you blame a man for trying to give it up? And this year sucks. It burns down anyway. It burns down anyway. It burns down anyway. It burns down anyway.
Who's missing bacon? I know, bud. I miss bacon too. Every so often I break down, get a little bacon on my pizza. Where's Canada's Corbyn or Castro? Probably in a prison cell, bud. They're preempting it now, right? They're preempting it. That's the whole game. Oh, I want my Denny's. Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. You had to eat Wendy's? Oh. First of all, Wendy's. Ooh. Barnabas, I love this emote. Are you kidding me? What a beautiful emote. I don't eat wheat and beef. Both do weird things to me, but okay, not my first choice. Oh yeah, dude, I'm out with the wheat too. Like it screws with me so bad. Oh, goddamn, I have not played this guitar in so long. I forgot how fucking much energy it takes. Dude. Forget working out. I just need to play this fucking guitar. Alright. I'm gonna do one more. This one's a bit more of a downbeat, but I think it's an important song. And man, I haven't even talked about it, like... No, not this one. Come on, where are we? Boom. Ooh, let's do a quick tune. I don't want to play this one. This is a sweet song, and I don't want to play this one if the guitar's out of tune. When you're doing like a thrashing song, you can kind of get away with that, right? You can kind of get away with just like going to town. You know what, man? I have been feeling like really blue and really downbeat in regards to this stream and everything recently. And you know why? Because I haven't had the guitar. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it right now. Like I know I'm going ham. Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. That's right. That's the song that's coming up here, buddy. I'm definitely gonna start playing some Smash Mouth up in this bitch. Of course, new strings, when you string them, they don't like to hold their tune. So probably about halfway through this song, things are gonna go sideways. But that's okay. You know, for once the B string's actually okay. Dude, don't even talk to me about that. I'm doing everything I can to just like try and keep my mood up. Try and keep things going. I definitely like play some revolutionary Spanish flamenco. Alright. I'm gonna play this song and then we're actually gonna do news and do the number draw and all that kind of stuff. Because I think this is an important song, frankly. Got asked a question by my niece who's 5 years old. What's the world gonna be like when I'm grown? I looked up at the crimson smoke-filled sky. I thought, what's the harm in telling one more lie? I said, everybody's safe, no one's living in the streets. You never need to worry if you're gonna get to eat. And Antarctica is covered in ice. And everybody's happy, and wouldn't that be nice? The burning sun won't leave a paper trail. Why work so hard if it's too big to fail? And what's the point of feeding this machine if it won't make the world in our dreams where everybody's safe, no one's living in the streets? You never need to worry if you're gonna get to eat. And Antarctica is covered in ice, and everybody's happy, and wouldn't that be nice? And I know one day my maker I will meet, when death's sweet kiss comes to sweep me off my feet. I hope by then we've learned a little more.
I'd like this place to be better than before, so everybody's safe, no one's living in the streets. You never need to worry if you're gonna get to eat, and Antarctica is covered in ice, and everybody's happy. Wouldn't that be nice when everybody's safe, no one's living in the streets? You never need to worry if you're gonna get to eat, and Antarctica is covered in ice. And I still believe that we can do it. I still believe that we can do it. Because the solutions to our problems are so easy. They're so easy. We don't need to make anything. We don't need to do anything. We don't need to create something. We don't need to be imaginative. We don't need to have a miracle occur. We live in a miracle. This place is a miracle. The problem is that we have picked a fight with the greatest energy on the planet, and that's the planet itself. It created a garden for us. We were born into a garden. We live in a garden that the earth is more than capable of handling us and healing itself. It created us. And if we want to be around to see the miracle of the earth healing itself, restoring itself, all we have to do is stop. That the consequences of stopping are so mild and pedantic and pathetic when compared to the consequences of continuing this manic, insane fantasy. It's so easy, and we can't do it. All we have to do is stop. Just stop. We're so fucking stupid. We're so fucking stupid. Like this fucking dumbass trucker convoy. All this energy, burning fossil fuels, revving truck engines,
honking horns, taking over a city, right? Revolution, overthrow the government, hang Justin Trudeau. Why? So everyone can go back to work. Fuck these truckers. Fuck everyone that shows up at that place. Fuck literally everybody involved in that protest. Because they're protesting fundamentally for the continued destruction of this planet and the species that live upon it. Get completely fucked. No, it can't be a peaceful protest. It's not a peaceful protest by definition. They're arguing in favor of the continued destruction of the species. And you can tell that that's what they're arguing for because they're in fucking giant diesel-guzzling trucks, revving them. Burning the bones of their ancestors. Making a big ruckus so that they can get back to fucking Denny's. Like, if they had shown up, made their statement, and left, okay. That's not what they're doing. Fuck these guys. When the military moves in and clears these guys out, I will celebrate it. Fuck these people and fuck people who think like these people. Like, the problem is that we're not all working hard enough. That's the problem. Just get a job. Just fucking get a job. Go work for the capitalist death cult and continue to die. Make sure your children scream when they burn alive in the fires that are coming, for sure. Like, it's so easy to forget. It is easy to forget. I forget. The town of Lytton burnt down so quickly that they couldn't even get the fire trucks out of the fire hall. There is no incremental reformist solution. You cannot negotiate with the fucking sun. That when our cities burn down, there will be no reprieve for us. It will very much look like a Sodom and Gomorrah kind of situation. It'll have that kind of look about it. Where just suddenly the city bursts into flames and the walls melt around you. And all of these pathetic liberals, these pathetic, worthless liberals, will run to their water faucets in order to try and get cool water as their fucking air conditioning units that are supposed to protect them explode. And when they turn the taps, all that will come out is boiling water. And they will feel their flesh melt. And if God has mercy, which he fucking doesn't, you'll pass out before your eyeballs pop. Like, fuck these fucking right-wingers. Fuck the entire Conservative Party. Fuck this extremist, neo-Nazi organization. Fuck all of it. Fuck these pathetic, weak, loser liberals. Fuck the limp, pathetic, ridiculous NDP. Fuck all of these people. Fucking the NDP can't even beat Doug fucking Ford. Like, it's time to take to the streets and show these fucking truckers who's actually in charge of this fucking nation. Because it's not Justin Trudeau, it's not Pierre Poilievre, and it's certainly not a group of neo-Nazis in trucks. It's the people. And this system no longer responds to the actual owners of this country. It needs to be done away with. if it refuses to confront climate change, it's not a system that we need to listen to. Like, it would be like pretending the sheriff of Nottingham had credibility. It would be like pretending Darth Vader or Voldemort has credibility. You fight against these people because they're dangerous. Because you give a shit at all. God, and that's my fucking problem with online leftists. Like, literally this is all going on and they're sitting in the corner going like this. Hoping people will give them $1 for watching it. Like, get fucked completely. Get fucked. Even the nice ones. Get completely fucked. Organize your people and get out into the streets. If you're not doing that, you're not a fucking leftist. Period. Like, period. Like, all of these people who claim to be progressives, who claim to be left-leaning, who claim to be all this, nah, centrists at best. Maybe liberals, right? Probably liberals. A lot of them are revealing themselves to just be fucking right-wingers. Like, their entire goal is to funnel energy into dead ends that are pointless. Take that energy into the streets. Right? There's only like 8,000 of these fucking truckers, and look at the big hoopla it's created. Right? Like, we're so gulled and pathetic that we literally think that just like talking to each other online matters at fucking all. Like, that's gonna change the fucking world. Like, get bent. Like, get completely fucking bent. Like, these fucking online leftists, people like fucking Vosh and Destiny and all these hacks, right? They pretend as though having these conversations is meaningful when it isn't. That these people are a waste of time by definition. They are entertainers exclusively. They don't actually care about the outcome of any of this. They care about their business. That's what they care about. That, in my view, the only reason anybody should be speaking to any leftist is if those two individuals are organizing people into the streets. Because those are the actual leftists. And you know what I have found? You know what I've come to learn? It's actually really difficult to get those people in conversation. Because they're fucking doing shit. Because they're actually moving the bar. Ironically, I'm saying all of this when Barry Weissletter, the leader of Socialist Action, is coming on to the show tomorrow at 7. We're going to have a big conversation about the convoy, about what he's been doing in the NDP, right? So I'm going to have a conversation with the actual fucking leftists, right? I'm not interested in talking to these fucking hack losers who jerk off in the corner. And here's the fucking reality as well. And you can tell that they're hack losers, right? Because they get caught in their dumb moral purity bullshit, right? They care about their appearance, is what they care about. You want to know why I organized the Socialist Action? These guys are Trotskyists, right? I'm not a Trotskyist. I'm never going to be a Trotskyist. Trotsky is who Trotsky is, but I'm never going to be a Trotskyist. You know why I organize with these guys? Because they fucking show up. Period. Full stop. So they get my attention. These fucking losers, I don't even know why I look at their shit. They're so boring and tedious and stupid, most of them, right? Like, and why are they boring and tedious and stupid? Because they're jerking off. They're not in the street. They don't know anything, right? Their job is backseat quarterbacking. Who gives a fuck what they think? At all. At all. I literally care more about what a 10-year-old boy who shows up at a protest has to say than what these people think. Like, I'm over it. And if anybody comes into my chat and asks me, hey, what's your opinion of these guys that don't organize and do nothing? Well, there you go. There you go. I don't care about their position on X because it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter at all. I'm talking to the people who actually do stuff. Like, I'm playing the game. You can sit in the corner and critique the game if you want, but I don't give a fuck about that at all. Like, do you think Peyton Manning cares what the people in the booth say about his gameplay? Do you think Michael Jordan gave a shit whatsoever? What like the after hours sports commentators had to say? No, I'm not here to be a sports commentator, right? I'm not here to jerk off in the corner. so that other people can be like, wow, he jerks off so well. Like, I'm here to foment a revolution against a system of power that is illegitimate. And if you're not doing that, I don't think you need to be paid attention to. Holy shit. Tell us what you really think, John. Tell us what you really think. Yeah, Bill Maher too. Fuck him. Like, Bill Maher's a hack. Like, he doesn't know anything. People treat Bill Maher as if he's super smart. Like, he's not. He's actually extremely dumb, right? And this is kind of indicative of like people like Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson. These guys are stupid, right? It just like, this is why destroying leftists is dangerous, because when an idiot shows up sounding intelligent, right? Because they figured out how to speak, right? Everybody goes, oh, he's so articulate and well-spoken. Oh, he must be smart. When they're not. Like, they're fucking not. They're extremely stupid. It's just, there's a vacuum. Because the leftist movement in the United States and Canada has been completely destroyed. Right? Like, if you put fucking Bill Maher in the same room as someone like Chris Hedges, like, and Maher started acting the way the fucking Maher does, Chris Hedges would make him look like a fucking moron. Because he is. And, like, that's fine. It's fine being a professional moron, right? Like, that's fine. Jon Stewart did a great job of it. But, like, you can't, it just shows you how denigrated our fucking, our whole media out. Like, Stewart himself said it. That the media has degraded so badly that a man pretending to be a newscaster gets mistaken for one. Like, yeah, the Denny's revolution. I love it. Dude, I think Denny's should connect in. They should just get, like, they should for sure just plug right in, right? And the Denny's revolution, they should absolutely call it that. Meanwhile, a majority of people literally sleeping on First Nations people whose homes are literally threatened by the capitalist death machine. Yeah, but, like, this country doesn't give a fuck about First Nations people. Like, they don't give a fuck about First Nations people at all, right? Like, we'll literally send police to kick in the doors and kidnap children from First Nations people. We'll send police to kick in the door and just arrest people in their own homes as we push through their territory illegally. Right? Like, that's what we do. And that's our liberals doing that. Right? Like, the current protest, one of the central organizers, Pat King, has literally said that, like, First Nations culture is a disgrace. Like, get completely fucked. Like, get completely fucked. We don't care about First Nations people. Right? The best we've ever done is to act like we care about First Nations people. Like, that's the best we've ever done. To look like it. To create the illusionary sheen. Right? Create the smoke screen. Yeah, everyone has to die because of a few very selfish people. Unbelievable, yeah. And we venerate them and worship them as gods, right? You just take a look at the Musk simps, right? People in wheelchairs still don't have access to many different public buildings. Yeah, truckers can get banned. Yeah. Spread leaflets, make reading groups, connect and organize with your local communities. Absolutely. And if you don't have a local community, if it doesn't exist, it's you. That's what I keep saying. And that's what I keep needing to remind myself and keep reminding other people. That if you can't find it, you're it. I've said this before, the only way for the trucker convoy to end is for Trudeau to resign. No, that's not the only way. And Trudeau's not going to resign. I think John is happy today. I totally think the Liberals are fine people. Just like liberals are fine people. No, they're not. No, they're not. If you're voting Conservative at this point, there's something wrong with you. Like, and honestly, the same thing about the Liberals. Like, no, if you're going in and checking Conservative and checking Liberal, I don't think you're a good person. And I'm tired of pretending. Right? I'm tired of faking. I'm tired of walking around to save face or be polite. Right? This is the great Canadian grift, by the way. Be polite. right? This is like, lying is built into our culture. And to the degree that we completely respect it. That's why Pierre Poilievre is actually the most dangerous conservative, right, in modern history, because he understands that lying is what Canadians are looking for. Canadians are looking for the most persuasive liar, right? And we know that they're liars, right? So we want the best one. That's the nature of conversation here in Canada, and we're done. We're done playing this game. Like, if you check the box of a fellow who is literally wearing blackface, giving money to neo-Nazi organizations, ignoring a housing crisis, pretending as though we can just sell everybody back to capitalism and that'll be hunky-dory after this pandemic is over, right? Not only can you not be my ally, you can't be my friend. Like, straight up. And I'm not going to be polite and be like, well, liberals, they bring a lot to no, they don't. They bring absolutely nothing to the table. They are a weight around the neck of Canada. Their whole position on every issue is, we'll do next to nothing. And when the Conservatives come in and destroy everything that we've done, we'll shake our heads and tisk. Because at the end of the day, nothing actually matters to these white liberals. Like, nothing actually matters to them. Right? They live in their fucking dumb mansions. Right? They work the same stupid job that they sold themselves to when they were a kid. Like, and they only care about what happens to other people in the abstract space. Right? So in the abstract space, they're more than willing to be like, of course, everybody should have healthcare and food and shelter and all this kind of stuff, but they're never going to fight for it. They're never going to actually stand up to their boyfriend, Justin, right? They're never actually going to do anything about it, so they're not our allies. Straight up. Like, they're not our allies, and they're not good people. They just pretend to be good people. And Canadians are exceptionally good at this. This is our base survival strategy that we have honed from living under the shadow of a psychopath, right? Just be cool. Just be nice. Just be cool. Just be nice. Lie effectively. And we respect it. And we're going to see that. We're going to see that, like, this theory of mine is going to manifest itself in the federal election. You watch. Canadians love being lied to. They love it. And they will go for the most effective liar. Yeah, I pretend Canadians are good people too. Exactly, yeah. Well, if they're going to pretend to be good people, then we should pretend they are too, right? Like, I'm so over it. Like, I'm so over this absurd, like, I'm no longer interested in pretending. Like, I'm just no longer interested. Liberals are just smiling, weak-kneed conservatives. You have the good cop on the flip side of the bourgeoisie coin and the bad cop conservatives. Yeah. And, like, the platitudes. Yeah, I think this is true. Pierre Poilievre will mop the floor with Trudeau in the debates. He's very well spoken. He's very articulate. And he's a very effective liar. Like, he's a very effective liar. He knows what people want to hear. Right? And he says it. And he's not willing. Like, this was why O'Toole and Scheer and Harper were so weak comparatively. Right? Like, Harper's strength was his ability to organize. Right? And get his people, get his ducks in a row. Scheer and O'Toole, their weakness was that they weren't willing to tell big lies. Right? They were willing to spin. Right? They were willing to kind of show their position in the best possible light. Right? And O'Toole especially was willing to make concessions. Right? Poilievre is a liar, and an effective one. Like, he's a very effective liar. And he's shown very clearly during this protest situation that he understands the lies to tell. He tells the lies very well. He interweaves things very, very expertly. And like, he tells the truth 95% of the time. right? It's just the 5% lies he tells poison the whole thing. And he's extremely dangerous because Canadians love that. They absolutely, like, take a look at Justin Trudeau. Like, Justin Trudeau was such a persuasive liar, right? He told such effective lies. And like, part of the reason why Andrew Horwath is absolutely going to get crushed by Doug Ford in this next election is because Doug Ford knows how to lie. And Andrew Horwath isn't willing to. And Canadians love liars. Like, we really do. It's getting to the point now where there's, like, I'm not saying these things ironically. Like, I really do think people are like, well, this person's telling me the truth, but it sounds grody. This guy's lying to me, but I like it. Like, it is to that point now. We're aware of it, I think. We're just not willing to admit it because it's too shameful. But that's ceasing to be a problem either. Like, we're losing the ability to feel shame as a culture. The border blockade in Alberta has cost $500 million in lost trade and wages. So much for fiscal conservatism. UCP government all out of ideas to end this. Well, Harry, and I got to say it over and over again. Like, what are they protesting for? Right? Like, if I was the capitalist class, I would be like, oh, $500 million in lost trade, but the working class is working for us. So, like, they're doing what we want. Go back to Denny's. Go back to Denny's. Right? Like, if the political power structure was to capitulate to the demands of these truckers, the capitalist class would be overjoyed. We have maybe 50 years left. Anyone who votes Liberal is voting for our collective death. Yeah. Like, it's getting obvious, right? Like, these Liberals have been more damaging than the Harper Conservatives by a wide margin. It's not even close, right? Like, Stephen Harper's position on the fossil fuel industry very much was free market capitalism, baby. Like, if you can't make it work, it collapses. I don't care, right? That, in many ways, that's why Stephen Harper lost the support of the fossil fuel industry, right? Why those industries stopped supporting him, because they were like, this guy isn't grifting hard enough for us, right? Like, you can say what you like about the idea of free market capitalism, but at least Harper stuck to his guns on it, and at least he looked at the fossil fuel industry, and they were like, handout please, and he was like, get bent, no. Like, no, this is a free market enterprise. You keep telling me that you can run this, like, and if you can't, well, then it collapses, and that's the way it works, right? And so they bounced over to Trudeau, and Trudeau was like, handout? Okay. You want me to buy pipeline? Okay. Climate emergency! Climate emergency! Oh, we're gonna buy a pipeline, no. Like, the Harper Conservatives were miles ahead. Like, anybody who argued in favor of the Harper administration over the Trudeau administration is completely vindicated. Completely vindicated. Harper wasn't a perfect prime minister. He had pitfalls, obviously, as all of them do. But when you put them side by side together, Harper was like 10 times the leader that fucking this Trudeau kid is. Like, fuck this guy. What has he done? What's his big fucking win? Right? Like, his big fucking win is what? Legalizing pot, right? He implemented a basic income only to dismantle it, right? Like, yeah, Skippy Paul is the perfect frontman for bourgeois politics, shifting into proto-fascism to cover for a systemic crisis. Yeah, absolutely. Y'all see PP on record saying how blockades are violent, how shutting down infrastructure is wrong, except it was 2 years ago. He's talking about the indigenous blockades, of course. No, dude, that's what I'm talking about, though. Like, Canadians are going to look at that. I feel like this thesis of mine has been proven at this point. Canadians are going to see him say that about the indigenous blockades and see him say this, like, support these blockades, and they're going to go, an effective liar. I can vote for that. Liberals and conservatives have cut education, healthcare. Yeah, keep voting for them. Yeah. Someone's talking about Zuckerberg investing billions in the meta while the planet burns. Yeah. And it's like, Zuckerberg has destroyed himself over it. The abandonment of Facebook. And it just shows you, right? Like, we just need to abandon these things. Like, we don't need to do anything. We don't need to get creative. We don't need to, like, do anything, like, significant. We literally just need to stop participating. And the whole thing fucking falls apart. right? Instantly. John is right. Goddamn right, Loaf. Change happens in the street. Organize. I'm looking into options to organize subsidized grocery delivery to underserved neighborhoods. Yeah. We gain comrades for providing aid wherever we can. That's right. And part of the reason why, like, a big lesson for us with this trucker movement is, like, don't roll into a neighborhood, take it over, and start shitting on everybody. Like, I don't know why that's not, like, these are the guys who will be like to China. They'll be like, I'm critiquing the Chinese government. I'm supportive of the people. But then when they roll into Ottawa, they like shit on all the people, like literally shit on them. Liberals and liberals are essentially people who require conservatism sold to them in photogenic, rhetorically pleasing form. Yeah, suburbanite wine mom conservatism. Yeah. The part that drives me absolutely nuts is how hard it is to develop solidarity with people on the group. The lack of ambition to actually do anything is staggering. Well, because leftists have gotten to a point where, like, their food is coming from what they're doing, right? And they know that if they go to the streets, that their food is threatened, right? Like, that's the reality. Like, capital has reinforcing disciplinary measures. And owning the public sphere, right? Owning the public space itself, where public discussion can take place, is part of that disciplinary measure. That, like, let's say someone like Hassan, like, if Hassan decided to actually start galvanizing people and organizing protests and doing that kind of stuff, you know, actually becoming a leftist, he knows that he would be confronted, that the power structure is not just going to let him away with it, right? Like, he'll lose sponsors, he'll lose support, he'll be demonetized, he'll be deprioritized in the algorithm. He knows, right? So he doesn't do it. It's very straightforward. Trudeau and the budget will balance itself. Yeah. Eric, capitalism makes it very hard for working class people to organize by exhausting them. That's another part of it. If you're working 60 hours a week to get by, you have no time to organize. Absolutely. People don't want to do anything until the very last moment, until they lose everything. Well, this is what I keep saying, Eric, right? The revolution isn't coming because of, it isn't coming because of, like, an ideological position, right? People aren't going to suddenly be like, wow, you know what? These leftists are right. We could reorganize this to be more streamlined. Yeah, this is okay, I guess, but we believe that we could do better. Like, that's not how it's going to go. Like, it's going to be millions of homeless people, millions of people who have lost their life savings, who were promised something that was never delivered, right? Who are on the streets. Literally, they live there, right? Like, this is how the revolution is going to happen. Because capitalism can't stop itself. It can't help itself, right? It's a psychopath. Like, it's going to it's going to lower the wages and raise the rent so much that you're just going to see tons of people in the streets. And so you're fundamentally right. It's that people don't want to do anything until the very last moment, until they lose everything, right? And it's coming. It's coming for a lot of people. It's already started, right? Like, it's already started. I like how Amanda called him PP. Can we all just call him PP? What's his middle name? We should find that out. I hope he has a P for a middle name. What's Pierre Paul Vier? No. Middle name. Middle name. Come on. Pierre Marcel. Damn, of course it's Marcel. I should have just guessed Marcel. With a name like Pierre Poilievre? Dude. Of course, Marcel. Damn it! I was hoping it was something like Percival or something, right? Then we could be like the triple P, PPP, PMP. Good job trying with all the hours you work. Must be strenuous, dude. This. Keep up the good fight. Yeah, absolutely. Sock Dems, liberal form of food is threatened. Of course, Sock Dems are nothing but the least reactionary form of bourgeois politics. They sell out. Isn't shocking. Well. And social democracy only can exist with the threat of revolutionary energy, right? Like, Finland and Norway didn't just become nice places because they wanted to. The capitalist class was responding to the revolutionary energy that existed in the Soviet Union, right? Like, there are communists and socialists that exist in Finland that do say things still to this day where they're like, we could just take the place over, dude. Like, literally, we could just eliminate you. You could just not be a part of the conversation, right? And like, the capitalists are aware of it. But if there is no revolutionary energy, then you don't get your social democracy. And you're seeing that in the United States, right? Like, Bernie Sanders and AOC are kind of inoffensive, right? They're social democrats. Why are they not? Why are they not succeeding? Because the capitalist power structure doesn't take them seriously. They're not threatened, right? There is no legitimate communist or socialist uprising. There is no legitimate threat, right? So they don't need to capitulate to these people. Like, it really is that easy. I'm not talking about online leftists. I'm talking about on the ground. Currently, yeah, trying to I've been there, dude. I've tried to unionize my workplace and just encountered people who are just like, nah, not interested, right? You got to do what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do, you know? That's why I say, if you can't unionize, sabotage, right? That's the other form of protest, or the other form to stop it. Like, we've got to grind the halt. Like, we've got to grind this thing to a halt. Like, it's got to grind to a halt. And like, the truckers blockading and doing all that kind of stuff does help in that regard, grinding the wheels of capitalism to a halt. But they're doing it to make a statement so that they can kick it all back up. Whereas I'm saying, no, blockade that and just stop, just stay there. Just like, literally kill this monster, kill this beast, right? If you can't do it through unionization, do it through sabotage. How would you approach a conversation to redirect their frustration towards anti-capitalist sentiments? I'd like to try to get him before he gets sucked into Nazism. Yeah, I mean, steadily. Like, it blows me away how little people are willing to sell their lives for, right? Time is our only real resource. Like, we don't know how much we've got, first of all, right? Everyone has a limited amount of it, and we sell it for nothing, and we basically give it away, and most of the time we give it away to do shit we hate that we know is destructive, right? Like, and if you don't have any regard for your own time, right? If you've been so browbeaten and trained into obedience from this capitalist system, it's hard. It's hard to get out of it. Like, how do you fucking get out of it? And I mean, if seeing homeless people starving on the street won't do it, right? If seeing the system collapse, if seeing 60% of Canadians saying they're struggling to feed themselves isn't doing it, like, there does come a point where you just kind of throw your hands up. Like, there's this great biblical phrase that I love, which is, if the people won't listen to you, knock the dust of the town off your boots, or sandals rather, and keep walking, right? Like, don't stay and try to convince a lost cause. Like, acknowledge when you're looking at a lost cause. And that's something that leftists really struggle with, I feel. Myself included. We don't want to admit that there is such a thing as a lost cause. And that, like a lot of these guys are not going to come around, right? We're past the point where we need to be persuasive or convincing. Like, we're entering the period of action. Like, the people who are convinced, right? Like, you're not going to convince them. Like, it's like the people in Tennessee who are banning the book Mouse, right? Do you think we're just going to convince them? Do you think we're just going to be like, hey, that's bad, and this is why? And they're going to go, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way. Do you think they're going to have a come to Jesus moment? Probably not, right? Like, that's who they are, and that's what's going on. Like, and there is such a thing as a lost cause, which is why it's a fight. I've been watching Chinese films, The Wandering Earth and The Battle at Lake Shangjin. Very well done, yeah. The Wandering Earth reminds me of Don't Look Up. Wu Jing is a great actor. Yeah, I'm glad to see that Chinese movies and media are starting to really get pretty good. Like, they're starting to challenge Hollywood, especially because Hollywood is just producing dreck, right? Like, to me, it seems like Chinese media is still very much interested in promoting its history and its culture, whereas like Hollywood movies are literally just like what's going to sell, and so they're just like, sure, here's a movie about fucking Thor or whatever. I mean, who gives a fuck? All right. Today's number. Let's go. This is late. We're gonna do it. I'm going for 10. I did 10 yesterday. I don't care. I'm going for 10. I'm feeling.
Here we go for today's number.
Mr. David Lynch.
It's February 8, 2022.
Are you guys in?
10 balls. Each ball has a number.
Got a 3 from Eziel. A 9 from Major.
Numbers 1 through 10.
Numbers 1 through 10.
Swirl the numbers.
My favorite part. Nice array. This is a good. We got a good chance.
Number.
We got a good chance. Brilliant. Lots of you involved in this one today.
Number is.
Here we go.
7.
Mocked, where are you? Matt Foy, don't know if I've ever seen you here, bud. Good to see you. Mocked. I know that you were picking a 7, bud. So I'm gonna say it's Mock's day today. Probably walked away from the keyboard for just like a few minutes. That's so amazing. Okay. I wanted to talk about this today. And I'm actually going to read this one because I think it's important. Yeah, rigged. It's a rigged game. Exactly. This is a big, long article, okay, guys? But I'm going to read the thing. And why am I going to read the thing? Because it's about Postmedia's Capitalist Manifesto, which I've been saying from the beginning. It's ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous. Postmedia's Capitalist Manifesto is a confused and embarrassing mess by Dan Dara. Canada's leaning right-wing news organization has launched a bizarre series that celebrates capitalism. The articles, a collection of misunderstandings and cliches, are proof that our economic system's defenders are completely out of ideas. Just saw your video on Canada Left, came over to check out the channel. I like it. Amazing, Matt. That's amazing. Thanks for that feedback, too, because honestly, I get shit on Canada Left. Canada Left is the subreddit that I post to that gives me the most grief, for sure. And I'm so happy to hear that there are people who see my content and are actually connecting in positive ways coming out of Canada Left. So that's very nice. Thanks, Matt. Capitalism has created more prosperity and progress for more people than any system in human history. On the 30th anniversary of the official end of the Soviet Union, join the National Post and Financial Post in a series saluting the unfashionable yet awesome power of the free market system. So reads the introduction to each article of the Capitalist Manifesto, a series by Postmedia, Canada's premier right-leaning news conglomerate that ran in several of its properties between December 2021 and January 22. The series features arguments from Postmedia's usual foot soldiers, as well as some of Canada's most infamous right-wing ideologues. Postmedia conscripted the likes of Conrad Black, the mega-rich National Post founder and fraudster, and W. Brett Wilson, investment banker and Dragon's Den host, to make the case that we have capitalism to thank for this, the best of all possible worlds. The enthusiasm of this team of cheerleaders for capitalism is not matched by their ability to marshal convincing arguments in their favor. They instead rely upon stock talking points to make their time-worn case. Capitalism leads to innovation, prosperity, longer lifespans, and free speech. Several of the articles make feints into stranger fare. We should have a National Capitalism Day, says one author. Corporate social responsibility and sustainability are subversive doctrines, says another. Maybe we should call capitalism progressivism, says one more. Headlines include also, free markets won the Cold War, but threats like wokeism are rising. And hate capitalism? Here's how it keeps lifting millions out of poverty. The series' loftier pieces take on the supposed incompatibility between democracy and socialism and rebuke China's brand of authoritarian capitalism. Everywhere they celebrate Milton Friedman and discuss the Cold War as a battle in which faith and freedom were pitted against communism. On the one hand, the fact that media functionaries feel the need to defend the prevailing order indicates that trust in the system has declined. On the other, there are no Bolsheviks at the gate, and sticking one's neck out for the rich and powerful is tantamount to applauding a bully. The entire exercise comes off as the overcooked offering of status quo toadies. Naming the system. The columns try to employ capital L logic to pull off Ben Shapiro-ish gotchas. The arguments, however, often feel labored and wooden. Capitalism, these defendants sometimes concede, isn't without its downsides, but compared to Cuba and North Korea, the good far outweighs the bad. Some revisionist history and selective stat pulling helps justify their claims. Weekends were brought to us by capitalism. Industry has also led to societal benefits, such as hospitals. Critics will point to COVID and say it was massive spending by governments that saved the economy. Supporters will point out that it was companies like Pfizer who saved people. One video boasts that the planet has blown past the most important of the Millennium Development Goals, the reduction of extreme poverty. But Jackson Hickel's 2018 book, The Divide, Global Inequality from Conquest to Free Markets, points out this conclusion is incredibly misleading, highlighting the facts that all the gains have happened in one place, China. Hickel notes that the absolute numbers for measuring poverty, not the proportions that China's presence inflates, show that the poverty headcount is exactly the same now as it was when measurements began in 1981, at about 1 billion. There has been no improvement over 35 years. And because that measure only covers extreme poverty, those living on less than $1 a day, it also disguises the actual level of world poverty. If the measure was changed to $4 a day, Hickel argues, we would see a total poverty headcount of about 4.3 billion people. But the authors of the Capitalist Manifesto columns appear to never have met a rationale for the merits of laissez-faire that they didn't like, no matter how dubious. This defensive posture taken by post-media captures something important. Since the end of the Cold War, capitalism has not been treated as a distinct economic system, but instead has been normalized into what seems to be the routine unfolding of a spontaneous order. It is the air we breathe, invisible and invincible. It's a natural order, one author in the series writes, that one does not have to understand to thrive within any more than you need to read a book on biology to stay alive. A renewed interest in socialism and intermittent challenges to the social order over the last decade is clearly stirring anxiety among capitalism's defenders. Capitalism may even be more susceptible today. From this pushback series, author Sean Spear writes, a combination of forces has contributed to the weakening standing in the current moment. As the planet hurls towards environmental catastrophe, this combination of forces grows all the more urgent and powerful. The old left is now in alliance with the authentic, if often tedious, conservationists in a holy assault on capitalism as an environmental threat to the future of the planet itself, writes Conrad Black. Black, who is convicted of fraudulently siphoning profits from companies he had, insists that capitalism is the best system because it is the only one that is aligned with the almost universal human ambition to have more. Socialist plots and climate denial. For Terence Corcoran, the socialist train has already left the depot, bound not for Finland Station, but the global North's seat of power. He points to the influence of French economist Thomas Piketty, who supposedly is running the economic show, influencing everyone from the President of the United States on down to high school teachers, warping the minds of youth, instructing them on the evils of liberal capitalism. We shouldn't expect an all-out neo-communist takeover just yet, Corcoran argues, but we're seeing Piketty's fingerprints all over the political scene. In the popularity of wealth taxes and socialism, for example, or the emergence of environmental, social, and governance standards, with corporations now attempting to operate under internationally mandated ESG rules, Part of Piketty's participatory socialism is already being installed, the author writes. ESG, of course, remains a weak tool for reining in destructive corporations, relying on conscious investments instead of outright regulation. Even Amazon, a company whose sprawling supply chains are exacerbating the climate crisis, is a favorite among ESG-guided investors. Nonetheless, Corcoran hilariously sees ESG as an appendage of the Piketty-led onslaught on free enterprise. The free market capitalists of the world must begin to see the risks rising on the left beyond their groveling public performances on ESG and other anti-capitalist crusades, and begin to unite against them. There is a pressing need to stand up to the socialist movement Piketty represents. Peter Foster joins Corcoran's assault on ESG, celebrating McDonald's ability to survive such anti-capitalist policies. However, Foster, who was in Moscow in January 1991 for the first anniversary of Moscow McDonald's, contends that greenwashing and ESG funds are relatively harmless, examples of virtue signaling, especially when compared to the draconian government actions demanded by the left. In one extraordinary passage, he asserts that the Marxist charge sheet of greed, exploitation, inequality, and unconscionable corporate power has been expanded to include various ecological crises, the main ones of which is an alleged climate emergency that threatens life on Earth. Foster's 2020 book, How Dare You?, took on junk science, environmental alarmism, and the war on Canadian resources, and was published by the UK-based Global Warming Policy Foundation, one of the country's largest climate change denying think tanks. In 2015, Foster and Corcoran were both named in a lawsuit that found the National Post guilty of defaming Andrew Weaver. Foster and Corcoran were part of a group that described Weaver, then a working climate scientist, as an alarmist and a sensationalist, producing climate agitprop in 2009 and 2010. Though some of the manifesto's other contributors do point out that capitalism has a problem with environmental externalities, that didn't stop the Post's editors from foregrounding writers like Corcoran or Foster, nor oil barons like W. Brett Wilson. Wilson, the famed Dragon's Den panelist, philanthropist, and investment banker, recently attracted significant criticisms after his company, Forent Energy, left 16 orphan wells in Alberta. As Jeremy Apple reports, Wilson served as Forent's director and largest shareholder, and under his guidance, by the time the company went belly up, saddled with public with somewhere between 2.1 and 3.7 million in liabilities, largely in the form of orphan wells. This was on top of the 6.6 million in debt he owed to Alberta's public bank, the 44,000 he owed in property taxes, and the 1.1 million in cleanup deposits he owed to Alberta's energy regulator. In 2018, Wilson tweeted that anti-pipeline activists should be hanged for treason. He later qualified the tweet with a proviso that he wasn't kidding. Today he continues to accuse environmental activists of being treasonous, foreign-funded eco-terrorists. Capitalism isn't perfect, Wilson writes in his autobiographical column. I did it. But the journey from the prairies to Dragon's Den and beyond is proof of the huge opportunities it offers. His journey, of course, is fall asleep in your cereal boring. Wilson earned a degree in engineering, worked in Canada's oil fields, went back to school for business, then became an investment banker and an energy capitalist. His narrative is not without a redemptive denouement, however. After his dalliances with success and wealth, he became a capitalist with a heart, realizing one must balance the system out with non-monetary riches in your life, such as personal relationships. Wilson closes off his column with a totally real quote from his daughter. Why can't we define success by the size of one's smile rather than the size of one's wallet? The awesome power of the handout. Postmedia's unrepentant boosterism for the free market is at odds with its eagerness to accept state handouts. Postmedia has received at least 4 forms of support from government throughout the pandemic. The media giant, which owns over 200 newspapers in Canada, received $63.3 million from the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy. It also receives 2 phases of separate support, as well as $1.3 million from the Canada Periodical Fund. The combined federal and Quebec media tax credits for 2020 will save the company approximately $11 million. In fact, Press Progress recently reported that in a message to shareholders, the company described government support as a key pillar of its business. Clearly, Postmedia is glad to not have to deal with the vagaries of free market it extols. Postmedia's reliance on government handouts stands in stark contrast with its fervent celebration of capitalism, and it's shamefully hypocritical in light of its relentless denigration of those who received income supports throughout the pandemic. Postmedia's crusade against COVID-19 supports naturalized the idea of CERB fraud, demonizing the $2,000 a month Canada Emergency Response Benefit, which barely covered rent and food in most Canadian cities. At the same time that they were portraying CERB recipients as free-riding scroungers, Postmedia was happy to have the costs of its own business socialized, receiving government largesse in excess of the $6.46 million paid out to their 5 highest paid executives. While taking CEWS payments designed to keep people employed, Postmedia also shuttered 15 newspapers and killed 70 jobs. In January 2021, it posted profits of $58.2 million. What better tribute to the awesome power of the free market is there than a perfectly profitable firm funding its exploits with public money? These days, Capitalist Manifesto contributor Matt Buffton writes, "Everybody hates the word capitalism, even its practitioners." He is quick to note, however, that this is not because of systemic defects, but because of the enervating effects of nanny state entrepreneurs. Sure, capitalism's bad rap is partially because of the negative connotations it's accrued, but it is also due to the go-getter business people being too eager to ask for subsidies and regulations from the government when it will benefit them or hurt their competition. Who will speak on behalf of the rich and powerful? The Capitalist Manifesto's raison d'etre is to ensure that capitalism, both as a word and a system, is not successfully sullied by its detractors. For many people, capitalism is a caricature with parades of fat cats, robber barons, and 10-year-olds down a coal mine, a series author writes, referencing a caricature that is at least 140 years old. Defending the capitalist system may not be a popular job in the current zeitgeist, so it's to Postmedia's disadvantage that it evidently didn't assign its top talent for the job. Savvier advocacy would have foregrounded smooth-talking fintech founders, green technology CEOs, or emissaries of capitalism's woke contemporary edge. Instead, Postmedia has tripped on its own penchant for culture war. To make its case, Postmedia enlisted septuagenarian climate skeptics Peter Foster and Terence Corcoran, energy baron W. Brett Wilson, convicted fraudster Conrad Black, and a litany of think-tanking talking heads. And the ironic pièce de résistance is the fact that millions in public cash funded their crusade. If this is capitalism's best and brightest, the columnists are right. This system is in need of defense. Dude, what's this word? A person who is from 70 to 79. Oh, yeah, okay. Septuagenarian. Okay, it's in the word. Sept, 7, right? Eugenarian, generation. Okay. Just an odd word to use. 950 subs. We're doing it, DM. We're doing it. Like, share, subscribe. Give me money. Grief from whom? Just general chatter, right? Like the chatter that I get back from other subs. Like, most people don't comment on my shit on Reddit. Like, that's the general truth. Even when I get a video that's actually good, that actually hits a mark, right? And I'm starting to learn what each subreddit likes. Like, BreadTube likes BreadTube. Like, if you make a video that's about BreadTube or about leftists, right, that usually does pretty well. Also, videos about sex do pretty well on BreadTube. But if you do a video, like, actually talking about the news or something, they don't care. And that's usually it. It's just like, we don't care. Like, meh, that's it. And if I do get a ping back that is negative, it's at least an argument of some kind, typically. Which I don't usually bite on, honestly. Like, I'm not interested. But for whatever reason, Canada Left I get a lot of snide commentary. A lot of like, your stuff is cringe. Like, stop doing this. Like, stop posting your stuff. Like, nah, we're not interested. And it's very rare for, like, every subreddit I post to, at some point, a video does well, right? At some point, a video does well. But never on Canada Left, for whatever reason. Just like, kind of weird, frankly, kind of weird. Yeah, well, leftists love infighting over ideological purity. Absolutely, the right knows how to toe the party line, present a unified front. Something we probably need to learn. Yeah, absolutely, dude. And like, a lot of it just comes down to, like, I think that the left has earned it, right? It's been earned. That we have difficulty with barriers in the first place, right? Like, being a leftist means you want to tear down barriers, right? So many leftists are deconstructionalists by nature. They're naturally that way. And so they're always looking to deconstruct people, and they're always looking to deconstruct each other, right? Even if it's unnecessary or pointless, like and even if it's alienating, that's another part. Is that we don't really have a big understanding on the left that, like, you know, sometimes you say shit even if it's right and it's alienating, and we don't really understand that. And then you sprinkle into that, like, that structure, right, that exists on the left, and that mindset that exists on the left. Then you sprinkle in the fact that we've been nothing but betrayed ever. Like, we're constantly in a state of total betrayal. And so what you end up with are deconstructionalists that believe that they are trying to purge illegitimacy because they don't want to get betrayed, right? It's very difficult for leftists to throw in with people. It's very difficult for leftists to play nice because they expect betrayal. They expect it. And so so what do you end up with? You end up with schisms based on ideological purity, right? And on top of that, you also have, like, far right terrorist organizations like the CIA that do everything they can to infiltrate these movements and destroy them from within, right? Yeah, so second-rate Francis Fukuyama end of history treatise, of which Fukuyama has walked back, by the way, yeah. Wokeism, reactionary postmodernism, dressed up as the left. Wokeism is literally just, it's actually brilliant what the right did, is they seized this word, woke, right? That the left was using the word woke, right? Like, wake up. That's like what we were saying. And they seized it for themselves, and now they use it as a weapon against us, right? It's very smart. Very smart. Something we should do more often as leftists. Like, I thought that way with, like, Let's Go Brandon, right? Like, when Let's Go Brandon showed up, I was like, the left should say Let's Go Brandon. We should start saying that. Like, why are we shitting on these guys for saying Let's Go Brandon? Like, you want to talk about ideological purity? You want to talk about that kind of shit? Like, and the infighting and all that shit? Let's Go Brandon is the perfect moment. Because, like, we could have very easily, it would have been so easy for us to look at the Let's Go Brandon thing and go, ha, awesome, right? Like, oh, look, the right wing is using, like, a code phrase to say fuck Joe Biden. Sweet. And instead of that, what did we do? These cowards can't even say fuck Joe Biden. Fuck Joe, just say it. Fuck Joe Biden. Just say it. I'm like, dude, like, perfect opportunity to show everybody that the left has a sense of humor and can play along. Like, Let's Go Brandon was the perfect moment. Like we absolutely as a culture should have seen Let's Go Brandon and should have been just like, sick, let's go Brandon. Right? And when the right wing started saying like, let's go Brandon, we should have been like, yeah, let's go Brandon. Right? Like, and if that's confusing for them, then let it be. Like, I don't care. I don't care if it's confusing to the right. Like, it's completely fine. And why that would have been so good is because it would have been so harmless. And all it could have done is bridged gaps. That's all it could have done. There's literally no case where some left-winger would have said, let's go Brandon, and a right-winger would have gone like, well, look, that's our phrase. You can't take that for... Like, it just wouldn't have happened, right? If anything, it would have been the left being like, well, you're saying left goes Brandon, so that means you're allied with them and all this. Like, and there is just no general sense of like, no, it's just awesome. Like, let's go Brandon. It's just funny. Like, I don't understand why I have to tie my whole identity into that. like it's tribalism to an absurdist degree, right? A crowd at a NASCAR rally started chanting, fuck Joe Biden, and the media personality went, there they are saying, let's go Brandon. Clearly lying, like obviously covering. And the culture was just like, yeah, no, you don't lie about that. Fuck you. So let's go Brandon. Yeah, let's go Brandon. Right? Awesome. And our inability to acknowledge that was awesome. It was sick. I loved it. Anybody who thinks that was lame or stupid or dumb or any of that kind of stuff, they suck. Right? Let's Go Brandon was a wonderful moment that was playful, fun, enjoyable. It made it into the halls of power. Somebody said it to Joe Biden. Like, and the whole time it was happening, I was just like, let's go Brandon. Fuck yeah, let's go. And the whole time I was saying, we should just say this. Like, it's fun. Like, why can't we also be having fun? Like, I just don't get why leftists always have to... No. Like, let's go Brandon. And also, so if we like seize that and use it for ourselves, it does the same thing as like the wokeism thing, right? It either diffuses it, or, you know, it gets some of these right wingers to take a look at us and be like, well, that commie's not so bad. Those are your worst case scenarios, right? Those are your worst case scenarios. Neo-communist. I know, right? Put neo in front of any word and it suddenly becomes scary, right? Neo-vanilla. Neo-chocolate, right? Neo-techno. Imagine being so far gone to think wealth taxes are socialism. I know, right? I know. Well, the strategy is to convince everybody that, like, Joe Biden is a communist, so that if a real communist shows up, everyone loses their mind, right? Get everybody so, like, about, like, a lame, like, moderate Republican like Joe Biden. And so if a communist really does show up, then people will fucking, like, call for their execution, right? Like, that's what you want. Yeah, don't forget, everything you don't like is socialism, and also fascism, or maybe communism, because those are all the same, right? This is the new grift, by the way, right? That fascism and communism are the same. Like, that's the new grift. They're trying to pretend as though... And you can see this, even Jordan Peterson would talk this way. That he would say things like, we can't show swastikas, but if we show the hammer and sickle, that's fine. It's like, yeah, it is fine. Like, it's completely fine. Like, the hammer and sickle is a symbol for workers' solidarity. Yeah, it's completely fine. The swastika is a, unfortunately, co-opted symbol that originally, I think, meant peace or love. It was a Hindu symbol. And it gets co-opted by, like, the worst people who have ever walked the plane of existence. And so, yeah. Like, not the same fucking thing. The right-wing buzzwords for things they don't like. Left socialism, communism, Marxism, woke. Yeah. Antifa. Don't forget about Antifa. Exactly. Those woke Antifa communists are turning the frogs gay. The woke communism Marxists. they're lifting up your frogs so that they'll turn them gay, and then your kids will lick them and then become gay. And if your kids are gay, then they'll never go and ascend to Christ. And if they can't ascend to Christ, they'll never join the 5 rings of the glorious Jesus. Like, that's where the right is. Like, that's what's going on. In conversation with my reactionary brother, oof. It's harder when your family's like that, eh? My dad, thankfully, like, my dad is conservative, without a doubt, but he's a conservative. Like, he's not like a fucking neo-Nazi fascist, right? But it definitely, like, we tread lightly within the conversation and we speak honestly, and I think that helps a lot. That, like, just speaking plainly and honestly, not trying to go at each other, just speaking plainly and speaking honestly helps a lot. I think my dad and I came to that point maybe when I turned 30. When I turned 30, we finally kind of looked at one another and we're just like, look, I'm going to speak plainly to you and you speak plainly to me, and, like, no harm, no foul. Like, let's not, I don't want to get angry about it. And we both, like, we didn't have that conversation, but it is the understanding that we created between one another, that just, like, we're not going to get upset with each other about this. And that helps a lot. And I respect it a lot more, and I think he respects me a lot more because that's the way we do. Like, when you're younger, you get really like, oh, fuck you, Dad, boomers. Like, you get like that, right? And you go, like, storm out of the room and you get all like about it. You get older though, and you just start having plain conversations, and at the end of them, you're just like, yeah, that's what I think about it. And they go, oh, okay, I don't know that I agree, but I understand your position. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. And honestly, that's good enough. That's good enough. It's tough when it's your family, though, right? Like, it makes it harder. It adds in, like, an extra layer. Anyway, I didn't even make it to the end of your comment. In conversation with my reactionary brother a couple of nights ago, he tells me he considers the Conservative Party to be a centrist party. Like, bats are gonna fly out of my mouth. I'm just gonna, like, deflate into a pancake and just be like, dude, even the Conservative Party, like, if somebody told someone in the Conservative Party that they thought the Conservative Party was a centrist party, the Conservative Party member would be upset. Like, literally, the reason why they oust Aaron O'Toole is because he's not far right enough, right? Like, they're not. That's a good one, though, dude. That's a good one, man. Jesus Christ. What not reading does to a fucker. If so, your brother's probably a fash. It's not too far from that, if I'm honest with myself. Ugh, that's tough, dude. That is tough. Vagaries are like whims in the simplest definition, so not having to deal with the whims of the free market because yay bailouts. Yeah, exactly. 950 subs. Hey, Alex, how you doing, bud? Good to see you. What's he saying? Socialism for the rich, rugged individualism for the poor. Exactly, right? Exactly. Having grown up in the same home and education system as he did, it's painfully obvious to me how little he understands global politics. He isn't deliberately fash. He just has no idea. Yes. That's the truth, and that's a good truth to acknowledge. It's like, one of the big hurdles for me politically with coming to terms with my society was understanding that people don't know what's going on, right? And that's fine. Like, that's not fine, but, like, understandable. That's the word I'm looking for, right? That it's completely understandable, right? Like, everyone's exhausted. Everyone's working their asses off. The news media is not helping, right? The news media is doing everything it can. Like, it'll report on an event, but it's never going to give you context. It's never going to tell you what's going on, right? It'll just literally be like, this is a thing, and that's the best you're going to get. And so it is up to you to decipher it like a puzzle, right? And that's ostensibly what I'm doing, is I'm just assembling stuff like a puzzle, right? To craft a larger, grander narrative. And no one in the news media does this. Like, there is nobody crafting a grander narrative. Like, take a look at, like, the Ukrainian crisis. This is perfect. Like, this is absolutely perfect for what I'm talking about. Like, everyone in Canada, as far as everyone in Canada is concerned, the Ukraine crisis is happening. Russia might invade at any moment. And it's like, okay, what else do you know? That's it. Like, that's the whole narrative, right? They're literally like, there's a crisis in Ukraine, and the Russians might invade. And that's it. And you're like, okay, but like, where did the crisis come from? How did the crisis manifest? What is the crisis there for? What's the story? And people are like, Putin's a bad guy, eh? Yeah, Putin's a bad guy. I'm like, but it's understandable, right? No one is telling anybody what's going on, and everybody's so fucking exhausted that they can't take the time to decipher this. It's a fucking full-time job, right? It's what I do. it's a full-time job, and then you got to turn around and actually tell people, and then you got to turn around and actually convince people. Okay, that's the fucking trick. Right? It's one thing to actually put it all together. It's one thing to actually be like, okay, this is what's going on, right? To the best of my understanding, this is the puzzle, right? This is what it looks like. And then you got to turn around and be like, look, here's the story. And then people are like, that sounds like commie talk. and I'm just like, yeah, it is commie talk, but it's right. Yeah, newspaper industry in rapid decline. Post media continues to shut down their daily print newspapers. Yeah, only a matter of time. Like, no, and this is exacerbating a lot of stuff. Nobody knows who to listen to anymore, right? Nobody knows who to listen to. And so hopefully that's part of the reason why this channel is growing. Thank you, DM, for pointing that out, by the by. Is that I'm at least attempting to tell you a narrative that I believe is true. And there are good people in this chat who work hard, I can tell, to keep me honest in the discourse. And I really appreciate that more than anything. I appreciate that more than anything. Because I don't want to lie. And if somebody shows me something and shows me that I'm wrong, I will admit it immediately. Like, immediately. Like, Joe Rogan got into this trouble recently where somebody proved that he was wrong and he, like, doubled down on the wrongness. And I'm like, bad call. Bad call. Way, way smarter. Almost as a default position, right? Like, your first position should not be, no, I'm right. Your first position should be, it's more likely that I'm wrong, right? It is. Because it's true. It is more likely that I'm wrong. Like, it is the more likely case that I would be wrong about something than I would be right about something, which is why I got to bring source documents, and you gotta actually, like, show people shit, because you can't just say shit, right? But that's the strength of this show, that when people come here, I'm gonna give you the narrative of what's going on, to the best of my abilities, and I'm willing to change the narrative given new information. Whereas, like, the news media is essentially just like if you're, like, scrolling through your, or even if you, like, go to the fucking, like, if you go to the Globe and Mail, right? They'll just be like, crisis in Ukraine, Russia. And you'll be like, what's going on? Crisis! Like, that's the best you're ever going to get. And no one is actually attempting to tell the story. And then when they do tell the story, they just omit major facts. Like, We're working to build a democracy in Ukraine, and Russia is trying to stop us. It's like, there was a coup in 2014 in Ukraine. You know that? Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. Don't worry about that. Yep. NATO-backed coup, forget about that, right? Don't need to talk about the NATO-backed coup. Mocked, I don't know if you were here for it, dude. We drew a 7 today. So congratulations to you, Mocked. I give it to you. I know that you pick a 7 every day, bud. DW just fired 5 people in its Arabic editorial team for negating Israel's right to exist. I mean, that is a bit of a sticky situation, honestly. Like, what should be done about that? You know, like really, like Israel exists because of the destruction of the Palestinian people and the subsequent genocide. But like, if the Americans just straight up abandon Israel, it will be destroyed, right? And even though, you know, they're a genocidal nation committing a genocide, I would prefer, like, it's just going to keep going. Like, it's just going to create a cycle. And I would prefer that whole thing stop, frankly. So, and sorry, mate, what's DW? DW is Darkwing Duck? Darkwing Duck. When there's trouble, you call DW. Darkwing Duck. Let's get dangerous. Yeah, Darkwing Duck reference. You didn't see that one coming. Time to republish the last edition of Marx's German paper. Neil, I swear to God, sometimes you guys just write shit just to have me say it. Neil Rheinisch Zeitung, number 301, 1849. Canada left is fairly lib in my experience. I mean, I understand, like, the real liberals are in On Guard for Thee. I've been banned from On Guard for Thee for being like, for expressing anti-liberal sentiment. Like, that's 100% where the liberals are. I think that Canada Left has its fair share of liberalism, but it doesn't. But I do think they're trying to move. Like, they support a lot of green initiatives, like a lot of Green Party stuff happens on Canada Left, even though technically the Green Party is sort of a conservative thing. Doesn't matter. Canada Left is where I discovered your channel. Fantastic, Harry. That's good to know, bud. That's good to know. That really does encourage me to continue posting, even if people shit on me on Canada Left. Well, the left is often misinterpreted to include postmodernism, which is anti-Marxist individualist philosophy. It seems like a lot of educated libs adopt that view. Yeah, postmodernism is easy to adopt because, like, it's so mobile, right? Like, it really is, like, you know, moral relativism and, like, just, like, it's flexible. It allows, like, anything is everything, and this is that, and this is and those are this, right? That's why conservatives hate it, because conservatism by definition is rigid, right? Whereas postmodernism is like the most wooby it can get, you know? Like, if it gets any woobier than postmodernism, it just is like, it's Dadaism, really. Like, postmodernism is literally like, it's tethered to the ground by a single cord. And if you were to just untether it, it would just dissolve into a form of Dadaism. And there have been, like, and I don't think it's mean to say this. Like, Noam Chomsky has a really great debate with Foucault, I can't pronounce his name, where Chomsky kind of points out the incoherency of postmodernism. And it's like, yeah, it's somewhat incoherent, and which is probably why it's popular, right? Since when have liberals not enjoyed incoherence, right? The right have a long history of co-op terms to fit their ideological not well, and also, like, as Tyrion Lannister reminds us, right? Take your greatest weakness and then use it as a shield, and they can't attack you with it, right? Term libertarian, yeah. Friedrich Hayek outright said they stole a crucial word from the enemy, of course. Like, language is where, like, it is, they are weapons. Words are weapons, right? That's why the arts need to be destroyed. Because you can't have effective warriors, right? You can't have people who are effective with their words. Like, if people understand how to use language properly, and if people understand language and how it works, they can become very dangerous to the establishment, right? And like, and not even like the people who are actively seeking to dismantle it, but like, I would say that something like probably as high as 90% of disagreements that I see are semantic, mainly. That this person is saying this and this person is saying this, and they mean the same thing, but they don't understand that between the two of them. And what they really need is somebody to, like, poke their head in and be like, excuse me, just for clarity, when you say this, do you mean this? And have that person go like, yeah. And then go to the other person and go, is that what you thought? And have that person go like, no, I thought you meant this. And then have that person go like, no, I mean this. And then that person will go like, oh, well, then I agree. And like, I have been in conversations with people where we have been talking for 2 hours and we've been in this like huge disagreement space. And I can't believe it because I know the person. I'm like, I can't believe you believe this. And we get caught in it. And then we simultaneously kind of come to a realization. It's like, wait a minute, when you say this, do you mean this? And they go like, yeah. And I go like, oh my fucking God, that's like 2 hours of my life I'm never going to get back. And the whole thing just falls apart. And there are like major cultural movements that you can point to and be like, that's a semantic misunderstanding. And like the whole thing just kind of goes, oh, goes all based on a complete semantic misunderstanding. And that's dangerous. It's dangerous having people walking around in your society who understand that the majority of conflicts are actually semantic misunderstandings. Because if they start clarifying those semantic misunderstandings, then people will begin to realize, oh, we're actually not that different. Like, the differences will become very heightened, right? The differences will be obvious, like white supremacists, right? That is very heightened. But, like, if you start to dispel a lot of the differences that exist as semantic misunderstandings, then people will realize, oh, like, there isn't actually, well, we're not even fighting then. Like, we can actually organize. We can actually talk to one another. And the ruling class doesn't want that. The ruling class does not want a population that understands what everybody is saying, right? They want people to misunderstand each other semantically. And the left doesn't help itself this way, by the way. The left gets up people's asses semantically. Like, when I was growing up, First Nations people were called natives, right? That was generally considered inoffensive. Right? It wasn't a slur. And then it changed. And it changed to, was it Aboriginal first or Indigenous first? I think it was Aboriginal first, right? It changed. And if you didn't jump over into Aboriginal, then you were a racist, right? Which was frustrating for the people in the society. But eventually everybody kind of gravitated over to Aboriginal. And then it became Indigenous, right? And the same process occurred, which is frustrating, right? And eventually everybody moved over because nobody wants to be a right. Like, nobody wants it. Well, I shouldn't say nobody. There definitely are people that are like, I want to be a racist. Just like, okay, bud, like, you're over there. But, like, for the most part, I think people do want to get in line, right? And so the jump from Native to Aboriginal to Indigenous to First Nation, right, was a series of semantic changes that really made the process, it was very frustrating for the right. And we've gotten to the point now where, like, a lot of these guys, because of that process, are just like, forget it. Like, I'm not even going to try. Like, why even try? And I'm not trying to delegitimize the process of changing that language. Like, I'm not trying to delegitimize it, but it is a semantic change that that can frustrate the situation and create friction where friction might not need to exist. And I do think the left has gotten a little bit better, where, like, if somebody uses the incorrect phrase, the left isn't just like, you're the worst person alive. Like, it is more along the lines of, like, hey, we've moved in, and this is the proper word now, right? And, like, most people are like, oh, okay, I didn't understand, and they just move into that, and it's not really a problem until it's a problem, and then it's a real problem. Anyway, semantics. Semantics are fun. You can literally spend your whole life dealing with semantics. Murray Rothbard was quoted as saying the term libertarian was deliberately co-opted. He admitted it was right-wing pro-capitalist. Yep, was against working people's best economic interests, of course. Horseshoe theory is old. Yeah. That's why they're trying to use the new, the graph now. You know what I'm talking about, with, like, the 4 colors, right? That's what they're trying to use now. And there's, like, Hitler is over here, and this guy's over here. And, like, all of it is very, like, it's not very useful, in my view. Like, I don't actually care too much about this left-right thing. Like, it's talking about semantics, right? Like, there is no such thing as left and right, actually. Like, it doesn't actually exist. It is just a communicative tool that we're using to sort of try to get a sense of where a person stands. And if a person is willing to stand up and say, this is where I stand on this sort of arbitrary created line, then that gives us a kind of an indication of what sort of views they may have. It's a shorthand, but it doesn't actually exist, right? And it's also quite nebulous. Like, when Trudeau comes to power, everyone's like, he's a progressive. And it turns out he's just like a moderate Republican, right? He's like a center-right. Like, really? Like, that's who he obviously is. If not farther than that. And we kind of just, you know, it's easy to manipulate us using this language because we like it. We're easy to manipulate because we go along with it so readily. I love wearing my red hammer and sickle mask when I go out. Amazing, Alex. I mean, do you ever get sass? Do you ever get sass? I wonder about that. I've been thinking about getting a hammer and sickle tattoo. I don't have a tattoo. I've been thinking about getting a tattoo, and I'm thinking about getting a hammer and sickle tattoo. I don't know where, but I don't necessarily want to go that route if it's going to be alienating. Like, if I'm going to alienate people or alienate myself, I don't necessarily think it's a good idea. But so I'm always trying to figure it out. And then I'm also like, yeah, but the people I alienate with this, I kind of want to alienate them. And then there's also the idea that, like, yeah, but if I'm like on the street just chilling out, do I want people to fucking come up to me? Horseshoe theory is an ideology which states that the far left and the far right are the same because you both use violence and stuff. Yeah, such compelling evidence. Exactly. Yeah. Because there's no such thing as self-defense. There's no such thing as a justifiable reason to use violence, right? Like, there's literally no such thing as needing to use violence in the face of violence, right? And also, I find that the proponents of horseshoe theory and the proponents of this sort of stuff, like taking a gun and shooting a gun or taking a club and hitting someone is violence, but withholding food and shelter is not violence, right? Excellent Dr. Peterson impression, yeah. I've been working on my my Jordan Peterson impression since the day I first heard him. He has a very kind of up here sort of a voice where he talks kind of in the back of his throat a little bit. And you never believe it. He goes really high like this all the time. So he talks kind of down here, and then he can kind of go up here like this. But it's all kind of in the back. Right? He doesn't actually talk from the front of his face. Right? He doesn't talk from the front of his face. Which leads me to believe... I'm a believer in the chakra system, okay? One of the key things, and I love pointing this out about the chakra system, you begin at your root. Your life's energy begins at your root. So where your balls are, right? Makes sense. And then the energy travels up. And you'll notice, right, that means that the energy hits your mouth, right? The energy hits your mouth before it hits your brain, right? And someone who's walking around talking like this in the back of his throat means that his energy is stuck in his throat and it never reaches his brain. And that's kind of my final estimation of Jordan Peterson, right? It's just kind of a cock and balls talking to you, for the most part. I shouldn't say that stuff about Peterson, honestly. I would love to get into conversation with Peterson. I would have the greatest conversation with Jordan Peterson. I think it would be great. I think he would like me. I think that we would end the conversation and he would be like, what a good man. I really believe that. One of the major things about the hammer and sickle is that it is essentially immune to being co-opted by the right. That is true, actually. Like, that's true. That's an astute observation. Like, they can't... Like, if they were to suddenly co-opt the hammer and sickle and use it for themselves, like, we would all make fun of them. Like, it would be obvious what they were doing. I thought it was Friedrich Hayek who made that claim, but either way, Murray Rothbard was trying to co-opt the term. Yeah, it's probably a good amount of them, right? Like, they usually operate in tandem. It's such a great example of how capitalists will steal anything in order to get what they want, in order to screw the working class. Well, take a look what they did to the green movement, right? Suddenly everything became green, and it was all just and in the 90s, all of the like revolutionary energy, they like sold us the revolution, right? They took like rock and roll and they just like sold it back to us. Oh yeah, World News is an excellent example of Western imperialist brainwashing. Yeah, you're absolutely dead on, Islam, for sure. And like, it gets really cringy. Like it's really painful. Like this shit messes with people, man. This shit messes with people. Oh yeah, here's an updated map. Here's a territory held by government and rebel forces in central Ottawa. Right? There isn't a legend, so I don't know who is who. But like, there are government forces and there are trucks. Looks like looks like the blue are trucks. Are the blue trucks? Or are the red trucks? No, the red are trucks. Right? Because here's blue government. So government, and then like police forces are in blue. Right? Blue. Right? And then trucks. Trucks. Cool to see that they're doing a map, though. Imagine asking people to choose between a crypto-fascist Ukraine NATO prop-up government or a Tsarist oligarch Vladimir Putin. I know, right? Well, and the real solution in Ukraine is just let Ukraine be Ukraine. Just leave it independent, right? That's good for everybody. It is. It's good for everybody to let Ukraine be Ukraine because of the history of NATO, because of the history of the Soviet Union and Russia, because of the history of Ukraine and the Soviet Union and Russia. And because Russia is considered one of the great powers and America is a great power, like, Ukraine should be left alone. Like, you do you, Ukraine. And honestly, if Ukraine starts doing stuff that NATO doesn't like or the US doesn't like, let it go, dude. Let it go. Like, it's so obvious that the United States is incapable of large-scale meta-thinking. It really is. It's very, very clear that the United States is not really capable of understanding the position of someone else and even understanding themselves. Like, how do people view us? How does Russia view us? How does Ukraine view us? Right? America simply doesn't care. Like, it literally is just like a big dumb bully with a stick that is just like, hey, you give gas to Europe. Russia gas goes through Ukraine and into Europe. We don't like that. So we're gonna get in there. And this part of the map isn't blue. It should be blue. This part of the map's not blue, but it's not red. It's not Russian, so it should be blue. Right? And they just fucking go in there and there's just like, and there's like no concept of like, what will the Russians think about this? What will the rest of the world think about this? What will the Ukrainians think about this? Like, nobody gives a fuck. It's literally just like, I want to just stop selling gas to Europe. That's as far as it goes. We are very close to a world where Joe Rogan replaces the mainstream media. Well, I mean, to soften that a little bit, Joe Rogan is the tip of the spear, right? I think this way very much about, there's lots of people who are on YouTube and in the media right now who got in on the ground floor, right? That no one knew what was going to happen and they were just doing it. They were just there and it just got big, right? And they grew and they just happened, right? But like, it didn't happen because they were like a strong ideologue or they had a good position or anything like that. It just happened, right? Just the energy got galvanized around them and it happened, right? And so I'm more or less of the opinion that that's going to even out over time. And it's going to even out for all of the reasons that these things even out, right? Like, and the reason why people like Joe Rogan, by the way, is because he seems like a straight up dude. But that's all he is, right? He's not a journalist. He's not that well read. He's not that like, and the major problem that's going on with Joe Rogan right now, if you ask me, is that he took a Spotify deal for $100 million, which disconnects him from the journey of the everyman, right? Like that's Joe Rogan. He's the everyman, right? And he's the everyman that we wish we could be. Like, man, I wish I could work out 2 hours a day. Oh, Joe Rogan goes out in the bush and hunts. Oh, it's so cool, right? Oh, he's an MMA fighter, like commentator, right? Like he is like the man's man, right? That kind of statement of like women want to be with him and men want to be him, or men want to be him, women want to be with him, that kind of thing, right? But it's changed now, right? It's changed because he took the Spotify deal, which has disconnected him from the material conditions of the everyman. Like, he literally doesn't know what's going on anymore because he doesn't have to. He can just live in his compound and be separated from everybody and doesn't need to deal with reality any longer. And then also he moved to Texas, which means that there really isn't anyone left of him challenging his views in significant ways anymore. Like, he used to live in Los Angeles, for Christ's sakes. Like, for sure there were people that he was interacting with. Like, he was going to comedy clubs in Los Angeles. For sure he was encountering people who were on the left of the spectrum, who were telling him, hey, you got to talk to this person. You get this person on your show, right? He lives in Texas now, right? When he goes out to nightclubs, he's talking to the good old boys. Chances are good that he's the smartest guy in the room now, right? And not because he's like well-educated or anything like that, but just because he's had so many conversations with people and he's had so much opportunity. Like, he's talked to very, very high-level people. Like, he's talked to very, very well-educated, well-informed people, right? And that's going to affect how much you know and all that kind of stuff. But now, instead of, like, going to a nightclub where he's encountering people who are smarter than him, or at least on his level, he's going to nightclubs and just having good old boy conversations, right? And it shows. It fucking shows. Like, Rogan's still trying his best, but he exists because he was in the right place at the right time just when the whole thing started, and he popped up, and it's going to come back down. Like, he's not going to... He's just really our generation's Howard Stern, if you think about it that way. Like, Howard Stern enjoyed the same sort of thing, right? That he was kind of the first guy to do what Howard Stern does, and it popped up, right? And then it calmed down, right? And other people started to do it, right? And Howard Stern is still there, obviously, but he doesn't own the whole thing, right? And same thing with Joe Rogan, right? Joe Rogan's popped up. He's doing his thing. He'll always be there, but other people will come up and other people will join in, for sure. And, Joe Rogan will fade into being like the place for the like right wing, love my guns, let's watch an MMA fight, and those guys exist and they always will. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I just think that, he's operating in a vacuum is maybe the best way to say it. Daryl Waldrop. On a recent news, I learned that apparently studies in cross species where Omicron was found in deer wild. Congrats on getting your guitar restrung, by the way. Thank you. I'm currently struggling tuning my shamisen. Oh, yes. The Japanese banjo. Beautiful, bud. That's really beautiful, dude. Why the shamisen? Like, that's so nice. What if you present anti-nation state sentiment? I'm sorry, dude. That feels disconnected from... I don't know what you're talking about. It seems like Israel... Oh, that's the Israel stuff. Yeah, it seems like Israel pretty much used British imperialism to get land. Yeah, that's pretty straightforward, Major. What if you present anti-nation state sentiment? Like, I'm gonna need clarification on that before I start talking about it. It's such a touchy subject, and I'd like to be really, really like, and you got to be really clear when you're talking about Israel, right? Because it's so easy to tip over into anti-Semitist language. It is, which is why you need to create clear statements that, like, you're talking about Zionists, right? Like, you're talking about this, you're talking about this person, and it's so, people want to say that you're an anti-Semite. Like, it's the strategy. Like, if you're a not, like, if you're a non-Jew criticizing Israel, you're an anti-Semite, and if you're a Jew criticizing Israel, you're a self-hating Jew. That's the method, and that's fairly well established. So, postmodernism is a philosophical irrationalist wet dream. Yeah, Foucault. Thanks, guys. That's so nice. Because I could be all like Foucault. That's one of my favorite things to do. My dad used to do that all the time. He would read me stories, except he would read it as it's written and not as it's actually supposed to be. So he'd like pronounce all the silent letters and all that kind of stuff. And as a kid, I thought that shit was hilarious. I was all about it. It was all about it. In this time of extreme bourgeoisie reaction, I wonder if we need to revisit United Frontism. What is United Frontism? A united front is an alliance of groups against their common enemies, figuratively evoking unification of previously separate geographic fronts. Yeah, like we're going to need to do that, for sure. Like and honestly, any movement is like this. It's very rare that there's a movement that is actually like all about this one like group or person, right? That's very rare. It's usually a combination of groups. Like within the Black Lives Matter movement, right? Like everybody talks about Black Lives Matter as if it was like one group that all got together. But it isn't. Like it's all just a series of separated groups. Did you hear the Quebec news today? I did not. I'm sure you're about to drop some truth on me, bud. The tyranny of words. Thanks, DJ. Shout out. The anarchist ML argument around Engels' book on authority is almost 100% pointless semantic argument. Yeah. Yeah. And like realizing it sooner is better, right? As soon like getting into the semantics actually matters, especially in the first bit. I want a hammer and sickle tattoo. I have 13 though. You have 13 tattoos, Islam? Holy cow. Holy cow. My problem, okay? I have a tattoo issue, right? My tattoo issue is that I'm very malleable, right? I can change my views pretty easily. I used to be like a fundamentalist evangelical Christian, conservative, right? Like, and I'm on the other side of the spectrum now. And so the idea of like permanently etching something into my skin seems unusual. Yeah, it seems unusual. Like if I think about like what would I have gotten as a tattoo when I was 18, and I just feel like I would be looking in the mirror and just cringing at it now, right? Yeah. So that's what's always resisted. I've always been resistant to it. I don't want to have something permanently etched into my skin that I constantly have to justify to myself. Lenin said that we, being the Bolsheviks and anarchists, essentially agree on 90% of things. What we don't agree on is how to get there. Yeah, from here. Yeah, the classless, stateless society. Well, the anarchists want to just do it, right? To have a good one, Alex. To me, the only real critique that I'm willing to kind of put in front of anarchists is that societies that attempt to do this will have enemies. And those enemies will take advantage of the weaknesses that are brought up from having an anarchist society, right? And what's the weakness? Well, a disorganized society based on anarchist principles can be taken over very easily by a small group of organized people. And like proof's in the pudding. Like, whereas the Marxist-Leninists are like, yes, the classless, stateless society, absolutely. We have enemies, right? Like there are antagonizing forces that we need to be aware of and be organized against. So that to me is what gives more legitimacy to Marxist-Leninism, and the reason why I don't throw my chips in with anarchism so easily, because I find especially, and this is especially true when I do, when I research the subject, it seems to bear out. that just like, my heart goes to the anarchists, but there's practical realities that I don't think they're acknowledging. And one of those practical realities is like, outside antagonizing forces can come and blow your shit up, right? And if you're not organized against it, Peterson is a genius. Mr. Camacho, I hope that's ironic, dude. Peterson talks a lot. Like, Peterson talks a lot. And I'll say this about Jordan Peterson to be nice to him. I found his cheerleading to be quite like, I'm a prairie boy. I'm from the prairies. So is he, right? So that kind of method of his speaking is what I grew up with. I respond well to it, right? Just sort of a straightforward. And he's reaching for analogies and things, not as a scientist, but as a storyteller, right? And I always understood that. Like, people really went after him for the lobster thing. But I was like, yeah, he's not actually saying this as a scientist, though. He's just trying to create like a parable or something like this, because that's how he views himself. And his book, like 12 Rules for Life, I think that if you read 12 Rules for Life and it inspired you to move forward, or it strengthened you in some way to do something, great. Really, great. Peterson's pitfalls is that he has clearly stepped beyond that, and he sees himself as needing to step beyond that. And like, he can't. He doesn't know enough. Right? He's not that well read. He doesn't actually know what's going on. And anytime he does it, the people who actually know what's going on smack him down. Right? Like, and that's true across the board. When it comes to climate change, he gets completely beat up and smacked around, right? When it comes to theology, he gets beat up and smacked around. When it comes to Marxism, like, Zizek basically just like glad-handed him. Like, the debate, if you want to call it a debate, that he had with Zizek was pretty embarrassing for him. Like, he clearly didn't know the subject matter, like, in big ways, like real big ways. And like, the more you listen to Peterson, the more you realize, like, oh yeah, you're just like a privileged white dude, like, really, like. But people respond well to Peterson because he genuinely does believe that he should be cheerleading people and empowering people, and people respond well to that. And I think that's really, if you wanted to really talk about where Peterson shines and where I wish he would stay, is as a cheerleader. Like, really. And I don't mean that to be flippant or dismissive. I mean, really. Like, if his entire life was just talking to people to encourage them to find their power and move forward in the best way they can, while acknowledging the troubles and tribulations that they're experiencing, I think he'd be very powerful for lots of people. And he is powerful for lots of people in that regard, right? The trouble he gets into is that he refuses to acknowledge that the trials and tribulations that some people can face are societal, and that societies can be structured. Like, he seems to think that the boot on your back can only be natural or self-inflicted. He doesn't believe in systemic societal issues. And that's the thing that collapses him as an intellectual, as a credible source. Like, rah, cheerlead away. But if you're not going to acknowledge like the existence of systemic racism, the existence of implicit bias, then you're not somebody who I need to listen to on a credible level, right? And the climate change denialism is, in my view, what steps him over into just Looney Tunes town. Like, if you're still with Peterson after his most recent conversation with Joe Rogan, you have a serious problem. Like, you've got a serious problem. Like, you can still like Peterson as a cheerleader, but if you're espousing the shit that he's talking about, you're in kooky town. Like, you're in crazy kooky town. That last conversation he had with Joe Rogan, I considered actually quite dangerous, what he did. Like, dismissing climate change as a problem, using the most facetious arguments possible, I think it's dangerous what he's done. And anybody who believes him, like, yikes. Yikes, 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 yikes. I love saying to ANCAP, you guys are faux libertarian, faux anarchist. They love that so much. I'm sure they do. Also, it makes them even more confused when I say that I'm a Christian anarchist. Yeah, fantastic. No, confusion is great. That's why I like to say I'm a secular theist. I love saying that shit. It's so fun. He talks through his mouth, which is in the front of his face. I love this emoji you've used here, Mr. Camacho. What a great emoji. This little, yes. Factual. Yeah, correct. No, I can't deny that. During your Jordan Peterson impression, you should just start crying uncontrollably once in a while. Your theater background should be easy. I refuse to make fun of Jordan Peterson crying. I refuse. And the reason why is because I do that too. I completely get it. I completely get it. And it's so, and people really respond to him when he's doing that. That's the thing about Peterson, right? Is that in many ways, he's a very genuine person, right? And that's what makes him so complex and so difficult for people to get a hold of. And why people are like, why hasn't Peterson just gone away, right? He has been discredited in many ways, and he's working to discredit himself further. But he also when he's talking about poor men and women are getting all this, and then he starts breaking down and crying. I'm just like, yeah, dude, I get it. Your JP sounds like the rich guy in Don't Look Up too. Well, that guy talked a little more up here. He was like, oh, everything will be really great and everything will be wonderful. And all the treasure will come down and we'll use it to feed the poor and home the houseless. And everything will be great once the comet comes and we get all those resources for us. That's how he was. And some people are even more shocked when they learn that I'm a member of that's the Latter-day Saints, yeah? Nice, bro. Nice. I thought the picture was the capitalist pyramid, not the chakra system. No, that's the chakra system right there, baby. Chakra system. You want to talk to me about the chakra system? I'll talk about the chakra system all day long. All day long. Again, and I do like to point this out because people get weirded out by the chakra system, but I just use it as a visual tool. I don't literally believe that there are literal balls of energy literally inside of you. I don't literally believe that. But how often do you actually visualize your body? How often do you think about your body? How often do you have an emotional conversation with your body? How often are you actually genuinely engaging in that process? The answer is probably never, right? And so the chakra system gives you a good tool to be able to think about your body outside of lift heavy thing, get big arms, right? And actually think about yourself as an emotional creature and actually think about your emotions and think about where do you feel things in your body and perhaps try to investigate why you feel those things and in order to resolve them, right? And I think the chakra system gives you a really great way of going through that. Yeah, I'm in favor of the chakra system. Anybody wants to talk to me about the chakra system, you go right ahead. Oh, yeah. If Christians really followed the Bible, they would be a hell of a lot more anti-capitalist. No shit, like Jesus. Jesus was completely eco-fascism, the Tory blue government. Truckers aren't showing the huge mess in tent city they're establishing. Yeah. Oh, I'm a socialist because of the Bible, and it baffles me to no end the mental gymnastics those people go through. Well, and especially a lot of the mental gymnastics, the Bible itself. Just read the book of Job. And so much of the modern day ideology that exists within Christianity is completely dismantled. I saw a Christian today who justified not getting the vaccine by saying God says it's okay to pay taxes, but when it comes to your body, that is your choice to do whatever you want. You don't have to follow the government mandate. And women shouldn't be able to get abortions. Has an entire thread. Oh, yeah. Can you do Billy West's impression Nixon? This is going to turn into an impression thing. Nixon is down here. Nixon, you talk right in the cheeks. You go right to the cheeks and you lower your voice. And then you try to get every so often a little growl in there, but it's all in the cheeks. Haroo! Oh, I am not a crook. It's all in the cheeks, it's all in the lips, and I am not a crook. Haroo! And the only time that you don't have to do that is if the law violates the law of God, like killing your fellow man. Oh my God. Most Christians read, "You shall not steal," and totally accept capitalism. They never think that capitalists are the biggest thieves. Well, I mean, one of the great tricks of the capitalist system is convincing people that capitalism is just natural. It's the natural system, right? Like, it's no different than the way bees organize themselves, or beavers, right? That it literally is just like, this is how all human societies will always organize themselves 100% of the time. If you were to drop 100 people on an island, decontextualize, give them amnesia, the way that they would organize themselves would be capitalism. That's the greatest trick the capitalists pulled on anybody, on everybody. Just this idea that the reason why capitalism is here isn't through egregious acts of enormous violence, first against the serfs throughout Europe by forcing them off the land and into factories. Children went down chimney sweeps. The men were conscripted into a war effort, right? Like this is what goes on throughout Europe, throughout the transition from capital to from feudalism to capitalism. That women and children are forced into factories, right? Men are conscripted into a war effort. Like, how does Britain take over huge segments of the world? Right? Britain is a shitty little fucking island with no resources. How do they go and take over most of the world? Well, they took the majority of their population, their male population, and they forced them into war. Right? They conscripted them. Right? They forced them onto boats. They do after clear-cutting the island. Right? They forced them into boats to go enslave black people the world over. Go enslave India. Right? Go enslave China. Right? And meanwhile, the children and the women are creating all of the stuff that's necessary to put forward the war effort. Right? That's how capitalism starts. And it's like, so it begins through acts of enormous and egregious violence. And that violence just continues to perpetuate itself, and it's what we're dealing with today. And capitalism itself is a system of withholding resources. That's how it functions. That if capitalism was to suddenly actually bestow resources to everyone the way that it claims that it does, capitalism would cease to exist. Capitalism is violence. It needs violence to succeed and to work. That if you tried that if you removed violence from the situation, then the system would stop functioning instantly, and it would just become something else. Because, like, and once you understand that, like, withholding food is an act of violence, like, you really begin to see it for what it is. You guys are trying really hard to make this a Christian conversation, I can tell. I will admit that at times it's hard to keep my faith up because right-wing Christian... Well, but those right-wing Christians don't define your faith, Eric. That's the truth, right? Like, don't give something up just because there's shitbags in the conversation, right? You know what you think the truth is, like, you know. And if you're finding strength through Jesus Christ and the Bible, let that be your strength, and no one should be able to denigrate you for that. Like, I don't care if you're an atheist or not. Like, it doesn't matter to me at all. But if you think you've got something going on and you're finding it's enriching you and it's feeding you, let it. After all, I strongly believe that what matters most is your relationship between you and God. Yeah, that's right. That is right. Or I would say, like, we are the quantum energy, and the quantum energy is us, right? Like that, and we need to understand that on a deeper level than we do. Judaism is a perfectly legitimate faith that's been around for 6,000 years. Zionism is a 19th century geopolitical construct that demands a secular nation state for Jewish people. Exactly, Watson. Exactly. Tattoos are addicting. I've heard that. That's another thing, Islam, that I'm very scared of. In 1938, Stuart Chase revolutionized the study of semantics with his classic text, The Tyranny of Words. I want to get that book. Fantastic. I feel like I've read that book, but years back. I'm not trying to change your mind. I had to make a decision to let reality influence my beliefs. I rose pretty high in my denomination. It's all pretty ugly at that level. Yeah, tell me about it, buddy. I have exactly the same tattoo issue. I know how often my mind has changed on issues and imagery, and I've never found something compelling enough to want it permanently on my skin. Yeah, Loaf, that's kind of it. And then there are people who literally are like, I'm just going to give myself a tattoo of a kitty. And it's like a stick figure cat, and they're just like, it's pretty and I love it. And I'm just like, okay, like, great. If you change your view a lot, just cross out the hammer and sickle. Like, yeah, exactly. Church of Lenin, yeah. I like mushrooms and ferns and bees. Oh, that's beautiful. You know, and that's actually the truth. Like, I'm never going to change my view on mushrooms, ferns, and bees. Like, those things are sweet. Those things are totally cool. Like, who doesn't love fucking mushrooms, shrooms, like ferns and bees? Right? Like, that's a really good point, actually. If I got a tattoo of a bee, I'd be like, it's a little bee. I got a little bee. Right? And that'd be it. I am overthinking it, I think. It's really what it is. Like, and I've had lots of conversations with people who are just like, yeah, no, like, don't overthink it too much. Like, people always ask me, like, well, what does your tattoo mean? And it's like, it doesn't mean anything. It's a pretty flower. It means that I like pretty flowers. You know? Like, everybody sort of and I feel like film did this to us. Like, our media did this to us. They every time I've seen a tattoo conversation in media, it's always like, wow, that's a pretty tattoo. Why'd you get that tattoo? And then somebody goes, I got this tattoo the night that my ma shot herself. You know? You're just like, whoa. And so it's like instilled in me and the population generally, I think, to expect a certain level of profundity or something intrinsically profound when most of the conversations I've had with people who got tattoos they're literally like, I like pretty things and this is pretty and so I got it. You're like, okay. Like, I have a friend, she's got a tattoo, a beautiful tattoo of a tiger on her arm. And I was like, why'd you get the tiger tattoo? And she was like, because tigers are sick. I was just like, yeah, I fucking can't argue with it, you know? Like, what are you supposed to say to that? Like, yeah. But, like, I like tigers as much as the next person, but am I going to get that tiger, like, infused on my skin permanently? Tough. I understand. I'm just saying my belief gets ugly. Yeah, it does get ugly, yeah. And mainstream Christianity is very hypocritical, for sure it is. Yeah, Richard Wolff said Jordan Peterson is a walking self-help book for incels. Well, and also, like, Peterson dodged Wolff, right? Like, before Peterson debated Zizek, he was supposed to debate Wolff, and he dodged him. Because I think the people around Peterson were like, no, Wolff's the real deal, dude. Like, Wolff's going to make you look dumb. And Wolff would have made Peterson look dumb if the Zizek debate was any indication. So Alberta government has decided to end vaccine passport as of midnight tonight. Masking of children in school ended February 14th. All mandate and restrictions lifted as March 1st. I hope the virus gets the memo. Yeah, Harry, exactly. Honestly, like, in retrospect, and I'm not saying this to be critical or mean to pro-mandate people, but, like, I do think that the mandate conversation got a little hysterical. Just a little. Like, just a little. Like, it isn't actually as important as we thought it was. You know? Looking back on it. Like, at the time, I was more soft on people being like, mandates and all this. And again, my position on this issue is I get why both sides of the argument exist. And it really is one of these times where the community just needs to come together and agree, right? And it does seem like the loud voices are getting their way, because the loud voices really, like, are pro-capitalist, ultimately. But yeah, like, what you're saying is so the truth, Harry, that, like, my favorite thing that we did during COVID was curfews. I always thought that was fucking hilarious. Because I was like, a 9 o'clock curfew, eh? Hey, everybody, you can't get COVID before 9 o'clock. Like, we did so many things to discredit the idea that we should be mandating. And curfews was definitely one of them. Where it's just like, curfew? Like, what the fuck are you talking about, curfew? Like, what the fuck do you expect? Like, do you think that, like, when 9 o'clock, like, the bell turns 9 and then COVID comes out from the shadows, the people run off the streets into their protected, isolated homes as COVID roams the street after 9 p.m. Like, it's kind of what it seemed like, and I'm just like, that's dumb. But because it was, and it still is quite heightened. It's such a heightened conversation. I really did not feel comfortable chiming in. I really, it's one of those times where I just let everybody have their piece, because I think most people, like, I understand why people are against the mandate. Like, I get it. Like, I don't hate them for it, and I understand why people were for the mandate. Like, and so to me, it was just one of these things where we needed to come together as communities, make a decision for what we were comfortable with as a community. And once the community made that decision, everybody should have gone along with it. That's not what happened. And there's something worth analyzing there. Like, why is it so difficult for certain members of the community to acknowledge the majority position or the majority view? Right? Like, and to a degree of hysteric. Like, the mandate people are literally walking around saying, like, this is like the Holocaust. Right? This is like the Jews and the Holocaust. It's like, bro. Like, that's you want to talk about hysterical shit. Like, that's hysterical. What I will say for the anarchists, their image of the future is more compelling for cons and libs. Libs and cons are so afraid of Stalinism that the anarchist anti-authority is an easier sell. Yeah, I also feel like anarchism is an easier sell to teenagers and early 20 people, because when people break with capitalism, they typically break hard, right? Like, it's actually quite rare that someone breaks with capitalism and then is, like, having a rational conversation about it. Like, the most reasonable people, like, the most reasonable sounding people in the conversation typically are the liberals, who are like, it's not a perfect system and we can reform it slowly and incrementally over time. Right? That sounds reasonable until you realize it doesn't work. And so when you break with capitalism, the first place you go is fuck all this shit. Right? Like, fuck hierarchies, fuck the state, fuck all this shit. Yeah, fuck all of it. Right? And then I feel like eventually a person should grow into a more reasonable material-based position of, like, okay, but, like, it's not enough to just be like that. It's not enough to just say that shit. Like, you need to have structures and organization. Like, you do. You have to have a plan. You have to have a perspective. Like, you've got to actually organize something, right? And that's where the Marxist-Leninists show up. Right? Because it's the Marxist-Leninists are the reasonable people in the conversation, in my view. But at the same time, like, I get the anarchists. Like, I understand why they are like they are. It makes total sense to me. Right? When I deconverted, I probably would have been diagnosed with PTSD if the church didn't cut off my family's health insurance. That's such bullshit. The church cut off your family's health insurance? What the fuck? That's so fucking dumb. Like, why is the church? Why does the church have control of your family's health insurance? That pisses me off so much. Like, to sell socialism, I was viewed Oscar Wilde's The Soul of Man under Socialism. Once you are sold on socialism, though, you need more analysis to understand how to actually get where you're going. Well, because if you don't understand that socialism is the path to communism, then you end up with people like Destiny who say, I don't really see a difference between liberalism and socialism, right? Like, and that's just the truth. The lifting of COVID restrictions isn't a time to make a balance sheet of the disregard for human life the ruling class has had globally. It seems to be the story of the last 2 years. Yeah. Like, if this COVID situation doesn't show you that the ruling class does not give a fuck about you, right? I don't know what to tell you. There's no societal issues. Tell that to the people of Libya, yeah. Libyans, focus on positive thoughts and yank those bootstraps. Exactly, dude. Exactly, dude. Can you do a Julia Child impression? Jesus Christ. When was the last time I heard Julia Child, hello, like that, right? Hold on. This one I actually need to look something up. Yeah, Julia Child. Let's have some fun. Yeah, this is who I thought it was.
Julia Child presents the Chicken Sisters. Miss Broiler, Miss Fryer, Miss Roaster, Miss Caponette.
Wow, she really does talk like that.
Miss Stewer, and old Madam Hen. But we're spotlighting Miss Roaster of the Year.
Miss Roaster of the Year.
15. 14. We're roasting Miss Chicken.
We're roasting Miss Chicken. Yeah, she's right up in here. It's Julia Child here today. That's pretty close. I'd have to work on it more, but that's a good foundation. Futurama Nixon is the best Nixon for sure. Have you ever read the Book of Barnabas? Don't know if I spelled that right. Long time ago, bud. Long time ago. I don't even really remember it, honestly. Thanks, I do appreciate your support. This is precisely what I do. Thanks, bud. That's amazing. Church of Lenin. I also feel like when I meet a woman named Semantic, who is also a welder. Yeah, of course. You're into the welders, man. I have totes. I have lots of tats that are meaningful. Some because I was in pain and needed to feel. Yes, I've heard this too. Right? Like it's a focal point. It becomes a thing. I know a young lady who she got 2 tattoos on the side of her head, and that's what she talks about. She's like, I'm feeling like a pain like right in here, and for whatever reason I wanted to feel that tattoo. Like I wanted it in there. I was like, did it help you? And she was like, yeah, it did. I was like, oh, okay. Like can't judge that. Yeah, the curfews were fucking bullshit. So fucking bullshit. And you're right, mandates do conform to the ABCs. Anything but class. The opposite to COVID coming out at 9 p.m. is apparently COVID was punching a clock and went home at 9. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, the idea that there was any kind of, like, time-based, like, is so fucking stupid. Like, the definition of, like, people doing something to look like they're doing something, you know? And I'm over here, hey, guys, have you ever heard about Juche in North Korea? That's a bit of a tough sell, Major, that one. That's very cultural, right? Like, I feel like if you're not really from North Korea, that'd be very difficult to get into the Juche stuff. I haven't done like a deep dive, but it does seem very culturally rooted. Having your eyes open sure makes it more difficult to operate under the social contract. Yeah, for sure, dude. Like, realizing that you live in a lawless society, right? Like, this is why, like, I don't say this too often, because if anything gets me banned, it's going to be something like this. But, like, during the George Floyd protests, all of the conversations about looting were always everybody going, oh, yes, of course, looting is bad. Yeah, of course, looting is bad, right? Like, Cornel West said this. Chris Hedges said this, right? I don't think looting is bad at all. Like, even a little. Like, at all. Like, you're going to execute people in the streets, your target gets looted. Tough. Cry about it. Your windows get smashed. Tough. Cry about it. Maybe don't have your cops assassinate people in the streets. Right? Tough. And if somebody were to say to me that, like, wow, that's an extremist, unacceptable position, I'd be like, fucking too bad. You know what's extremist and unacceptable? Assassinating people in the streets. And my absolute favorite during that whole period of time, people were like, absolutely, we all agree that openly murdering people in the streets is bad. But, and I'm just like, no but. Like, what are you talking about, but? Get completely fucked. Like, get completely fucked. Any system that results in this should be physically dismantled. Too fucking bad. I'm sorry your target got looted. Like, I'm sorry that your windows got smashed. Sorry that things are inconvenienced for you, privileged white people. Like, your society's not that nice. Tough shit. And I don't hear anybody in the conversation talking that way. Like, I don't see anybody who is taking the position of, like, no, I'm actually pro looting. Like, if you're gonna murder people in the streets, right? And honestly, like, not even that bad. Like, if you're gonna like openly rob people, like the $5 trillion wealth extraction that has occurred over the pandemic now, or like 4 trillion, like, if you're going to extract wealth from the populace and rob them openly, the number one form of theft is wage theft, right? Well, then we're going to take it out on you, right? And how we're going to take it out on you? We're going to smash all your shit, right? Like, this society is not that good. Like, it could do with a cleansing, right? Like, I think that we should have, like, I think we're due for like a Dadaist absurdist movement. And you can see that manifesting in Gen Z, by the way. And it's just happening kind of naturally. Like, they're not actually like sitting down and being like, we should have a Dadaist movement. But like, Gen Z humor is very weird and abstract and absurdist, right? Because it's the natural response to cleanse a society that's lost its legitimacy, right? Like, when the Dadaist movement started in Europe, the statement of the Dadaists was, any society that creates these wars is a society that has no legitimacy whatsoever. And like, it should be cleansed. The rulers should be mocked openly. They should be completely removed. Yeah, I thought you were going to say Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, that's not what the society needs, but it's probably what it's going to get. And like, I'm of the opinion that looting and rioting is part of that, right? It's part of this expression of cleansing the society of its own evils, right? Like, like, if you are going to openly murder people, openly commit fraud and theft, show that your ruling class is completely lawless, and also PS tied into like a pedophile cult, right? Like, the Jeffrey Epstein shit is real, right? Like, I know that, haha, people make fun of it because of, like, Pizzagate and shit, like that conspiracy theory that they were like, oh, there's children in the pizza place and all that. But, like, the Jeffrey Epstein shit is fucking real as real gets, right? Like, we've got the manifests. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, what do you need to see? Do you literally need to see Donald Trump fucking a 14-year-old? Like, is that what you need? Right? Like, I don't know what to tell you here, man. We literally have, like, a woman saying that when she was 14, she was given to Donald Trump for sex on Jeffrey Epstein's island. Like, we've got like a straight confession. Like, this is what's so annoying about liberals, is that like, there is no point for them. There is no like, there's no line where, oh, you've crossed that line, so we've got to do something about it, right? And so I'm more or less of the opinion that like, in this lawless, bereft of base compassion society, what are these rules you're talking about? Like, what fucking rule are you talking about? Like, when Robin Hood was going around, like when Robin Hood goes around and steals from the rich to give to the poor, we don't go, Robin Hood, you know what, he's giving up on the electoral system is what he's doing. Right? He needs to work with the system. If he wants to change the system, he needs to do that from within, right? Like, nobody says that shit. Everybody watches fucking Robin Hood and goes, yeah, Robin Hood, he robs from the rich, he gives to the poor. That's completely legitimate. Nobody even thinks about it. When, like, Luke Skywalker blows up the Death Star, nobody's like, the jobs! Like, no, we all get it. We're all just like, yeah, blow that fucking thing up. Like, fuck that Death Star, right? Like, what I find really funny about how people are is that we can watch a story that is ostensibly in favor of massive property destruction, that is in favor of enormous rioting, enormous looting, fucking murder and assassinations by the protagonists in the fantasy space, and be like, yeah, hero. But if somebody actually does that, like, it's one of the very odd contradictions, where even conservatives will watch Star Wars and be like, yeah, the Rebel Alliance. Fuck Antifa, though. Do you not get that you're the Empire? Like, do you not Is that a connection that you're not making? The looting and rioting is more than that. It's an expression of a section of the working class being totally powerless in the face of state-sanctioned aggression against them. Exactly. Right? So ultimately, the complaint that people are levying when they are trying to condemn looting and rioting is that how dare they fight back? Right? That's the real seminal argument that they don't actually want to bring up. Right? They don't actually want to say out loud. It's like, how dare they fight back, right? And that's why I say that to these guys. Like, if somebody were to come at me and be like, how dare you support looting and rioting? I'd be like, yeah, how dare we fight back, right? Like, how dare we actually fight back against the illegitimate power structure that's dominating us and destroying our societies, right? Like, how dare we? My own personal belief, I'm on the side of MLK. Don't believe two wrong makes a right. Yeah, and I do respect that position. Like, I don't think I would go out and loot and riot and smash things up, but if I knew people who did, I wouldn't think badly of them. Like, really. Like, when I remember part of what informed this view, you would think that it would be like my study of like revolution and any of this. But really the thing that really informed me is during when you watch the movie, the HBO series Band of Brothers, which is a really good show. Like, it's really good because it's about the soldiers. It's not about it's not even dealing with the upper ruling class or any of that. It's about the soldiers, and that gives it all the credibility you need, right? Because like, we can have a discussion about the powerful during that period of time and the decision making at the highest levels, and I definitely have opinions on that. But because that movie was just about what was happening to the soldiers, it really became something quite beautiful, in my view, like a really powerful statement. And they interwove the scenes and the show with interviews with World War II veterans, which really created a very powerful dynamic in the thing. And I'll never forget that the protagonist, the actual fellow who we've been following, this like primary fellow throughout the whole thing, and the actual guy who we interviewed, he said outright, it's like, yeah, no, I didn't have a problem with my men looting the Nazis. Like, if we went into a town and took it over and my men started to loot it, I didn't care at all. Right? And it makes sense. Like, these are Nazis, right? Like, we're over here, you're fucking with our lives, you're fucking with everything, fuck you. We're gonna loot you. I don't have a problem with that. And I use that exact same logic. I'm just like, yeah, we're ruled by people who at bare minimum are funding Nazis, right? Like, at bare minimum are like walking around in blackface and shit. Like, at bare minimum are going to Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile island, right? At bare minimum. Like, what credibility has this system? What are these rules you're talking about that we need to follow and observe? Like, what are you even talking about? Like, really? Like, oh, so Darth Vader said don't loot. Okay. Why do I care? Exactly. Yeah, but what was Robin Hood's view on intersectionality? Yeah. I think, but that's such an interesting observation onward, right? Like, that Robin Hood. Yeah, exactly, right? This is how they would defang someone like Robin Hood. This is the method they would use to go after him, right? Robin Hood displays toxic masculinity. He was probably in the Red Brown Alliance, Red Fox Brown outfit. I'm feeling unsafe already, right? That like, oh, Robin Hood is allying with Little John, and Little John has expressed homophobic statements in the past, right? That's 100% what they would do. Right? They weaponize diversity, right? That's what liberals do, because they can't actually have a genuine, meaningful conversation about class, right? They can't actually talk about poverty. They can't actually talk about this serious battle that's going on between the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. They got to talk about literally anything other than that. And yeah, I'm totally not CIA, by the way. Thanks, Onward. You know what? Now that you've said it, I believe you. I was suspicious before, but now you've alleviated all of those concerns. Dude, if you turn out to be CIA now, well played. I gotta tell you. Like, for real. Like, if you're walking around in this chat as a CIA agent, being like, I'm totally not CIA, by the way, I'm very impressed. Well done. Well done. Your infiltration skills, very impressive. I've pretty much had it with the identity reductionists, intersection. Yeah, like, because it's like, on the one hand, it is important conversation, but it's become very obvious that it's being used as a way to deflect from meaningful conversation, right? That, like, they are using a serious... And this is what makes them disgraceful. This is what makes it disgusting, in my view, right? That they are using a very serious conversation to deflect and distract from another very serious conversation. Like, that's what they are doing. And if you articulate a desire to not talk about intersectionality and instead talk about class, then they can just say you're a racist, right? Like, that's the method. And the only way that we can get through this disgusting strategy, and it's a disgraceful strategy, is to acknowledge that that's what they're doing. Right? And they call you a racist because that drags you back into the intersectionality conversation, right? Because now you need to defend yourself, right? So I just don't. I literally am just like, oh yeah, anything but class, eh? Like, coward. Like, that's all it is. If you're going to call me a racist, I'm going to call you a coward because you're incapable of having an adult conversation about a serious issue. Instead, you want to use a serious issue as a shield to deflect away from that because you're a coward, right? That's the only thing that we have left to do. There's no... Maybe wokeism didn't start as a psyop, but it obviously is now. Oh yeah, for sure. Well, and it's a code word, right? Like, it's a wink and a nudge so Nazis can understand each other, right? If you're writing woke or wokeism in your article, it's like a little like, yeah, nudge, nudge, we're all in this together, nudge, nudge. It's a dog whistle now. Yeah, racist or class reductionist is a nullification exercise, for sure. That's the whole goal, right? And you can see that within the co-opting of Martin Luther King, for God's sakes. Like, the right wing has co-opted Martin Luther King. They use his... Like, Ben Shapiro, for God's sakes, uses Martin Luther King. Like, by completely distorting him. But, like... I'm going to blaze through some of these links. I only got 5 minutes left. Part of the reason why I'm not, like, going through my links so robustly, guys, and choosing to talk to you guys instead is because not much is really happening, really. Like, I read that Jacobin article, and I'm glad that I did, because I'm glad somebody did a takedown of that stupid, ridiculous bullshit. But, like, the whole world should be worried by the siege of Ottawa. This is about much more than a few anti-vax truckers. It's the Americans are funding trucker movement in order to foment a coup. It's practice coup, is what it is. And, like, seeing how effective semis would be during a coup situation. And so they're running a trial, basically, in Canada, because they can run a trial in Canada, right? Because the coup happened in America, so if they tried to do this in America, it'd be part of that, but because it's in Canada, it's a different thing, right? But not to them. So that's what this article is. Supermarket theft rising, shoplifters more aggressive, warns grocery industry. What? You mean if you systemically abandon people and 60% of the society has trouble finding food, they're going to start stealing? Like, good. I'm glad that they're stealing. They should steal more. CNN sounds alarm as trucker convoy completely blockades busiest U.S.-Canada bridge. This isn't something Biden can ignore.
Mandates are actually leading right now
to... Oh my God, shut up. Oh, you're yeah, this is what I care about. Like... Boy, it'd be cool if the left could do something like this. Man, it'd be cool if we were, like, literally doing this while saying, end capitalism. Like, it's all of the rhetoric surrounding this protest is, like, the most annoying bullshit of my life. Right? It's just, like, the most annoying bullshit of my life. That if they got everything that they wanted, nothing would change. Like, nothing meaningful would change. That's what makes it so stupid. It makes it just the dumbest thing of life. Yeah, like the stream. Could it go full coup here in the US? No. Like, literally the only thing we fund is our military. Like, absolutely not. Like, maybe they could take the White House or the Congress for a couple of days. There is absolutely no fucking way that the United States military is going to allow a coup to take over. There's just no way. It's not. It's so beyond illegitimate. I don't think you could like, if a coup were to occur and it actually entrenched and it actually became the prevailing government, then it's a military coup. Period. Like, if the military, people do not understand the overwhelming force that the military presents. Like, you are not simply going to get a group of truckers to take over the halls of power and have it stick. It's just not gonna fucking happen. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's gonna be coup attempts. There's gonna be people who try, right? But if a coup were to occur and if it were to stick, then it's a military coup. Like, and that's the way we should understand it. We should understand it up front. That there is a difference between, like, truckers go to parliament and go into parliament and start shooting and take over the place. Yeah, rah, rah, rah. And a difference between, like, that happens and now they are actually the leaders. And they are, like, making edicts and people, like, and there's an expectation that we're supposed to take it seriously. Right? Like, one is a group of rabble who are moving forward in a stupid way, and the other is a military coup. And if this group of rabble seizes the halls of power and then suddenly it sticks and it's supposed to be that way, it's a military coup. Like, and let's not mince words or pretend anything else is happening. Like, the United States military is the most, like, so what you are fundamentally arguing by saying that there could be a coup in America that would actually stick, what you are fundamentally arguing is that the military we are expecting to confront superpowers like China and Russia is not able to handle a small peasant revolt. That's what's being argued. Like, absolutely fucking not. That when the rubber hits the road, when the green light is given, the Marines are going to go in there and clear that shit out. And don't pretend like they can't. Like, and it's not going to take a lot of them. I really think that this is something that people don't understand. That, like, if the President of the United States turned to a 4-squad Marine group, that this rebellion would be over. And it would be over in an hour. Like, the USA doesn't need to coup Canada. It's completely unnecessary. No, it's far more likely. Like, the most likely thing that we're seeing here are far-right groups that exist in Canada and the United States getting organized, getting the equipment, right? And creating this big tumultuous event based on the misunderstanding that the problem is the Democrats or the Liberals. Right? Because and the capitalist power structure is more or less fine with it. Because they're like, oh, they're fighting against the liberals, perfect. Then that means that we can pit these two working class groups against one another. Right? And then we'll use the conservatives to co-opt that energy. And now suddenly, if the populace swings against the liberals to the conservatives based on this issue, then our guy is still in power. Like, the harsh reality of this protest is that these truckers are too stupid to understand. I should be nicer. I should be nicer. These truckers do not understand that the conservatives and the liberals are allies, that they work together on behalf of a capitalist structure that suppresses them, and that their true enemy is the bourgeoisie, or the owners, if you prefer. Like, this is what happens when you don't have a class consciousness. If you don't have a class consciousness, then you can come to believe that your enemies are actually the allies of your ally, right? And that you are being grifted in a game that these politicians play professionally, right? Like, the game of politics is what they do, and they do it professionally. Like, and they are playing a game. And if your whole shtick is, we're gonna get those liberals and we're gonna own the libs, then you're just a tool. Like, you really are. You're just a tool. Yeah, it's either military enforced coup or a large majority of the population comes together and agrees that the replacement government is actually legitimate. Yep. Even if they held parliament or the capital for a month, if the population doesn't think they are legitimate, they can't succeed. Well, and I've actually made this argument. Loaf, you're bringing up something very interesting because, yeah, in a society as evenly divided along political lines, there's no way to a force like this would ever have sufficient recognition to win. Exactly. Which is the number one reason why I refuse to endorse a violent revolution. People do come in here and they try to espouse the idea that we should be moving forward with the idea that there is a violent revolution. Reason number one why that needs to be rejected is because it wouldn't work. Even if we managed to seize the halls of power through violent means, even if we managed to actually begin writing law, enacting legislation, all of that kind of stuff, most of the population wouldn't go along with it. It would very much just divide the populace, right? Like, and forget about the idea that we're going to defeat the Canadian military. Like, that's not going to happen. And so, like, but let's say we did. Like, let's say we did defeat the military, right? Like, no one's going to listen. What, you think if a group of communists took over Ottawa and seized the halls of power and began passing legislation, that Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta would just be like, cool, yeah, these are our rulers now, right? Or even they would be like, whoa, I don't like it, but we're all Canadians. No, it would tear the nation asunder. It would absolutely tear the nation apart, for sure. Like, it would balkanize the country immediately, so it wouldn't work. Of course, those forces are well financed. They are the battering ram. Financial capital rewires to maintain bourgeoisie rules, or requires. Yeah. Well, and again, the capitalist class is fine with these guys. Like, really. Like, these guys are perfect because they act as a disciplinary force to spook people back towards liberalism, right? Like, gotta vote liberal or the conservative gets in, right? So what do? You make the conservative more and more repugnant. You make the conservative more grotesque, right? As people begin to loosen up their allegiance to liberals, because liberals are weak and don't actually do anything for you, make the conservative scarier. And if the conservative gets in, that's fine. The capitalists don't mind that, right? So a terrifying genocidal maniac, like someone like Adolf Hitler, the capitalists were more or less fine with him, right? Like, they didn't really care. Like, and the American capitalists especially, at the end of it all, they were very happy with what happened. Like, what did the American capitalists get? Right? They got the means of production in, like, the most prosperous nation on the planet after that. So Hitler is one of the great capitalist heroes as far as the capitalist class is concerned. Yep. Progressives ignore Canadian support for Ukraine's right-wing policies. Been saying that for a while. Glad to see other people getting on board. Thanks, Eves. Almost 2/3 of Canadians oppose trucker convoy protest. That's a nice number. 2/3 is nice, right? 2/3. Oh yeah, that was what I was going to use if I went and used the bathroom. From Toronto anti-convoy protest shows the way forward. There's a mass labor response to the anti-mandate movement. This is by Daniel, right? I'm just showing you guys this stuff because we're done, but like, yeah, I think I am done. Oh yeah, this is the one I wanted to show, right? CPC should divorce social conservatives. And it's like, yeah, but then there wouldn't be a CPC. Like, it's like, I don't know. It's like saying football fans should divorce football. Like, dude. All right, guys. This is the end of this one. Thanks so much, every single one of you, for being here. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe. If you've got $1 jangling around in that pocket of yours, think about donating, right? Even $1 helps. If you are donating $1, maybe think about making it $2, right? Steadily building enough money to be able to pay my rent. That would be really nice if this could pay my rent. Boy, would that be nice. I am to a point where if I moved to, like, rural Saskatchewan, I might be able to pay my rent. So that's nice, right? It's nice. It's happening. It is happening. We'll see how it all goes. Always remember, guys, you are a quantum being walking around in quantum energy. The billionaire class is doing everything it can to convince you that something else is going on so that they'll convince you that you are just a commodity. Revolt, rebel, repent. Good luck. We're going to need it.